in Konoha. At first, I annihilated the Sarutobi clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251, Jiraya's Suspicion. As soon as Naruto and the others left, there was a bang, the smoke cleared, and Jiraiya appeared in the Hokage's office. What a capable kid. He was able to improve the Rasengan to this extent. Of course, you don't even look at whose daughter she is. Tsunade looked proud. Speaking of this, Tsunade, I remember you told me that Chihiru's ninjutsu was taught by that guy Fujiwara Chiya, right? Jiraiya said again. Yes, didn't I tell you a long time ago? That guy Fujiwara Chiya seemed to have noticed Chihiru a long time ago. Tsunade's eyes flashed with panic. Is it really just like that? Jiraiya narrowed his eyes slightly. This kind of perfect ninjutsu that surpasses the three holy places is not as simple as just looking at a talent. And Tsunade, don't you think Chihiru looks a lot like that guy Fujiwara Chiya? You guy, just say what you want to say. Don't be sarcastic to me here. Tsunade stood up and slammed the table. Seeing Tsunade getting angry, Jiraiya, who had been serious, immediately pulled curry, waved his hands hurriedly, and said in a mean way, "That's nothing. I just think Chinatsu and Kainai are quite similar. I definitely don't mean anything else. I don't think you dare." Tsunade sat back in her original position and said with a headache, "Tell me, what exactly do you want to talk to me about this time? Is Akatsuki taking action again?" Jiraiya heard the smile disappear on his face and nodded heavily. "During the time when Naruto went to the sand village in the land of grass, I have been secretly investigating the intelligence of the Akatsuki organization. Because their target is the Jinchuriki, I have also investigated the Jinchuriki scattered throughout the ninja world and conveyed the known intelligence of the Akatsuki organization to the cage of each ninja village that possesses the tailed beasts. It turned out that the Akatsuki organization acted faster than we thought. Before taking away Gaara's tailed beast, 2 tailed beasts had already fallen into their hands. Not long ago, we received intelligence that the 2-tailed Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village never returned after the mission. That is to say, by sending out those elusive tailed beasts, including the 1 tail and the 2 tail, the Akatsuki organization has at least collected 4 tailed beasts. That's really tricky." Tsunade rubbed her forehead with a headache, and her heart was also confused. So far, she still didn't know what her little man wanted to do. That's not the point. What we really care about is the 7-tailed Jinchuriki of the hidden Uchiha village. Jiraiya said. "What?" Tsunade was puzzled and showed a puzzled expression. Jiraiya said, "Because the Langayan village rarely communicates with the outside world, I chose to go there in person. Among the 4 tailed beasts taken away by the Akatsuki organization, the 7 tails is one of them. We all know that once the tailed beast is extracted from the body of the Jinchuriki, unless the Jinchuriki is resurrected at the cost of consuming her own vitality like Granny Chiyo did, the Jinchuriki will undoubtedly die. But what surprised me was the 7 tails Jinchuriki. Oh no, to be precise, it was the former 7 tails Jinchuriki. Although the tailed beast was extracted, he was still alive." Hearing this, Tsunade roughly guessed that it was Chiya who did it and fed the 7 tails Jinchuriki with senzu beans, but still asked, "Is there any information about that Jinchuriki? This was given to me by Langying." Jiraiya took out an envelope from his arms. The 7 tails Jinchuriki also participated in the last Chunin exam held by Tsunagakure in Konoha, but on the way back, she was attacked. The 2 Langayan Jonins who were responsible for guarding her were killed, and she herself disappeared for almost a week. When she reappeared, she returned to the place where she was attacked, but she didn't remember anything. I checked carefully, and there was no seal in her mind to block her memory. Someone should have used a powerful illusion to erase her memory of that period of time. And in today's ninja world, the only one who can control this level of illusion, besides the 2 Uchiha who were alive at that time, is that guy Fujiwara Chiya. But I'm a little surprised. That guy who is full of evil taste and even Orochimaru was toyed with by him, is not a kind man who likes to save people. Any ninjutsu such as resurrection has a price. This time, they actually spent such a price. to resurrect a Jinchuriki who has no social skills. It's really incredible. Tsunade, who was watching the information of the former Seven Tails Jinchuriki, twitched her mouth fiercely. Jiraiya didn't know, but how could she not know? If nothing unexpected happened, the guy did it, because the other party was a pretty girl. Otherwise, if he changed to a rough guy, you don't see whether he would save her. Jiraiya continued, there is another thing that concerns me. As Yamato said in his previous report, Chiya had countless opportunities to capture Naruto, but he just didn't do it. The same was true for the battle to recapture the Kazekage. For example, the chair and parasol were left by Chiya, and it seems that he did it on purpose. All of the above is really incredible. Unless, at this point, Jiraiya looked Tsunade up and down. From a very early time, he was curious about who the mysterious man who married Tsunade was. For this reason, he even conducted a special investigation. As a result, he came to a shocking conclusion. Before Tsunade became pregnant, she had been to Tansho Street. At the same time, members of the Akatsuki organization also appeared. The time could not be so coincidental. In addition, Chiksha looked a bit like Chiya, and Chiya especially taught her the perfect fairy technique. If it weren't for the huge age difference between the two, he would have suspected that Chiya was Tsunade's mysterious husband. Unless what? Tsunade frowned and asked quickly. His 5 fingers clenched into fists, and the bones crackled and exploded, as if he was ready to beat someone at any time. Unless. Hearing the sound of Tsunade's fist, Jiraiya swallowed hard and quickly changed his words. Unless Kainai can't give up his feelings for Konoha, or has other purposes. Nonsense. Tsunade relaxed her eyebrows, and unclenched her fists. Jiraiya turned his back to Tsunade, and breathed a sigh of relief. He was secretly afraid in his heart. Fortunately, if he had just said that Kainai and Tsunade had that kind of relationship, he would have been killed on the spot. The Hidden Rain Village, the cave base of the Akatsuki organization. Those present were Kainai, Yikang, Konan and Pin. Leader, the Tail Jinchuriki has been captured successfully. A huge pitcher plant slowly emerged from the ground, then opened and spit out a yellow-haired woman, who was covered in blood, and had long lost consciousness. Well done. Where are Kakuzu and Hidden? Pin asked indifferently. Zetsu chuckled and said, Kakuzu said they have already completed their quota. After wasting so long, they plan to hunt down a few ninjas with high bounty rankings on the black market to replenish their funds. Hidden feels that sacrificing to Chiyuriki alone is not enough, so he plans to capture another one. Kakuzu has set his sights on the head of Jericho, one of the 12 guardian ninjas of the Fire Temple. It seems that Hidden has set his sights on the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki because he is angry with Deidara. The two hit it off. They are going to the Fire Country. What's up, leader? Do you want to call them back? PS. Second update. I fell off my bike. I'll make do with 2 updates for now. I'm preparing a new book. I'll save 100 or 200 chapters and release them later, so you don't have to worry about updates. Chapter 252. Zirikuno is pregnant. Chief, do you need to call Kakuzu and the others back? Black Zetsu asked Pain, his voice a little hoarse. No, not at all. Pain shook his head. At present, we have obtained 4-tailed beasts, and the final stage of the organization has been completed halfway. There is no need to worry about so much. If Kakuzu and the others can really capture the 9-tailed Jinchuriki, it will be a big deal. Good thing. I understand. Then I'll leave first. Heiju said, controlling the pitcher plant to slowly blend into the ground and disappear. It seems that there is no need to seal today, so let's say goodbye, Chief. After listening to Pain and Zetsu's conversation, Kainai knew that the second group of immortals was about to be cooled, and Sarutobi was also going to be cooled. Speaking of it, the reason why I spared this guy's life during the Chunin examination was because I knew he would die in Hidden's hands. Just let nature take its course. Wait. Just when Kainai and Yikang were about to leave, Pain's voice suddenly sounded from behind. What's the matter, Chief? I'm still making soup at home. Kainai and the others turned around. Kainai and Yikang, you have been too slack recently. The corner of Pain's mouth twitched fiercely. Is there any? Kainai and Yikang looked at each other. An embarrassed smile appeared on Yikang's face. That's true, Master Kainai. Since the capture of the Five Tails, we haven't seemed to have carried out many missions. Zionan glared at Kainai angrily and added, even the last time you chased Orochimaru at the Tenchi Bridge in Kusanagi village, you were too lazy and missed the time, causing Orochimaru to escape. This is a lie, and it was made up by Kainai. After all, he didn't. Orochimaru must be killed. But even so, the appearance still needs to be done. Immediately. Kainai pinched his chin, stared at Zionan seriously, and said innocently, isn't it because you didn't inform me earlier that I left late? You? Zionan gritted her silver teeth angrily and listened again. On the sidelines, Pain said, that's enough, Zionan. Then Pain said to Kainai, Kainai, now that the final stage of the organization has been completed, you can't slack off anymore. Next, I have to give you a task. No, after Kainai complained, Pain continued to add, the 8-tailed Jinchuriki. Now the organization has mastered the information of the other 8-tailed beasts, including the 9-tailed Jinchuriki. Only the 8-tailed beast is a mystery. Before capturing the first 7, in front of the tailed beast, you don't need to capture it yet, you just need to find out its specific location. Okay, then leave it to me. Kainai agreed without any hesitation, and even Pain and Zionan were impressed. Accident. Is this still the same Kainai who is passive and slack in everything he does? Why did I suddenly change my gender today? However, what they didn't know was that Kainai, who was familiar with the original work, already knew where the 8 tails was hidden. Yunlei Gorge is the place where Kyuubi tortured the 2 pillars in the original novel. Pain was stunned for a moment and said, well, you can set off now. I will notify you in advance when the second tail is sealed. There is no need to go to such trouble. It's not too late to set off after the second tail is sealed. The village is so big, and the Jinchuriki's chakra is different from that of ordinary people. With my perception, it only takes a few days to find it, but it will be easy to alert the enemy. After all, the second-tailed Jinchuriki of Kumo Hidden Village is here. We just captured him. Kainai shook his head. He would not let go of the body of the two-tailed Jinchuriki. Although the system option has not yet appeared, when the opponent is really about to die, a situation like the 7 tails Jinchuriki may not happen. After all, the wool has to be combed out, right? And, besides that, he could secretly go and see how Asuma died. After all, the guy in the original book died miserably, so wouldn't it be beautiful if we didn't waste time together? When Pain heard it, it seemed that this was indeed the case, so he didn't force it. Decided to wait until the two-tailed Jinchuriki was sealed before setting off. After leaving the cave, Kainai left Yi Kang and came to Yuri Hong's room. Because Yuri Hong had been on a mission during this period, the two of them had been fighting for a long time. It wasn't until she was exhausted that Yuri Hong collapsed into Kainai's arms, panting. Why, you are working so hard today. This is not like you. Yuri Hong lay in Kainai's arms. He took Yuri Hong's bare hand and kissed it gently. Because I can't mess with you for the next 9 months. Yuri Hong's pretty face turned red, her eyes evasive, showing shyness, happiness, and a hint of hidden worry. 9 months. Kainai was stunned, and then he remembered the scene where he stayed here for the night on the day Gaara was captured by Deidara a month ago. His pair of black pupils couldn't help but shine with excitement, and he hurriedly prepared for Yuri. Hong felt her pulse and said excitedly, Hong, are you pregnant? Yes. Yuri Hong replied, her voice like a mosquito. That's really a great joy. While Kainai was happy, he couldn't help but recall the posthumous female Sarutobi Mirai in the original Sarutobi Asuma. Should we say that fate is really wonderful? Although Yuri Hong was cut off by herself, the date of pregnancy did not change much. After all, she made a lot of money. But, is this really okay? Yuri Hong said with some worry. Kainai knew what Yuri Hong was worried about, so he stroked Yuri Hong's shoulder and said softly, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. And now is the time to tell you. Kainai took a deep breath. He said sternly, there may be something you don't know yet. What? Yuri Hong's face showed confusion. Actually, besides you and Izumi, I have many women outside, many of whom are powerful or high-ranking people. There happens to be one in this Konoha village. And she also gave birth to a daughter for me. Kainai said calmly. High position and authority? Gave birth to a daughter? Still in Konoha? Yuhi Kurenoi was not stupid. She quickly understood what Kainai meant and then thought of the top management of Konoha. First of all, except for Koharu who moved to bed, she gave birth to a boy and it was born to old guys like Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo, and Mito Kadone, so they can be ruled out. And Kainai doesn't have such strong tastes. It's true that he likes women, but he definitely likes beautiful women. It's impossible for him to like an old woman who is 70 or 80 years old. Of the rest, only one person fits the bill. Tsunade, the 5th generation Hokage, has a 7-year-old daughter. Looking back carefully, Tsunade-sama's daughter didn't have much to look at when she was young, but as she grew up, she began to have some outlines of Kainai. It seems you have guessed who it is. Kainai pursed his lips and smiled. What is going on? How could Tsunade-sama, one of the 3 ninjas, have such a big daughter with you? How old were you at the time? Yuhi Kurenoi exclaimed. PS. First update. Please recommend and vote. Please vote monthly. Chapter 253. Asuma dies with his eyes open. Yuhi Kurenoi felt like she was going crazy. If Chinatsu was really the child of her little man and Tsunade, it seemed to explain why Kainai stopped targeting Konoha after the 5th generation took office. It's a long story. Please listen to me. Kainai showed a mysterious smile on his face. 3 days passed in a flash. Just like the original. Kakuzu and Hidden defeated Jiriku, one of the 12 guardian ninjas of the Fire Temple, and destroyed the entire Fire Temple, and took his body to the underground exchange, to exchange for the bounty. However, while Kakuzu was counting the money, Hidden was attacked by a team led by Asuma. He was first attracted by the shuriken thrown by Asuma, then was fixed by Shikamaru's shadow imitation technique, and finally was stabbed by the two Konoha guards, Gangzi Tetsu and Akatsuki Izumo, with steel knives. It hurts, you two bastards. Who are you? Hidden said in pain. It clearly hit the vital point. Could it be immortality? Asuma, Koji Tetsu, Akatsuki Izumo, and Shikamaru's team were horrified and lost their voices. It hurts, you two bastards. Stop spinning the knife. Isn't it obvious? Hidden glanced at Koji Tetsu and Akatsuki Izumo, and finally his eyes fell on Asuma. When he saw the seal of the Fire Country's emblem tied around his waist, his eyes flashed with surprise and excitement. You look like the guardian ninja Asuma. It's Asuma. Asuma's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and he corrected in a harsh voice, shouting, "We are Konoha's ninjas, ordered to capture or annihilate Akatsuki. Akatsuki has always acted in groups of 2. If you don't want to die, tell me where the other person is. Also, since you are a member of Akatsuki, you must know Fujiwara Chiya. Tell me, where is that guy?" Hidden was stunned. Fujiwara Chiya? Then he reacted, with a teasing smile on his face. Such a sissy and sharp voice, and you still want to find Kainai. I remember, you should be the survivor of the Sarutobi clan who was exterminated by Kainai and castrated. Asuma frowned. After all, he was a ninja with many years of combat experience, and he was not easily provoked by the other party. He quietly grasped the ninja sword Fian in his hand and asked, "Answer me, where are your companions, and where is Fujiwara Kainai? You really want to seek revenge on Kainai? That guy's ridiculously strong. Even Kakuzu was killed by Kainai in seconds." Fiden smacked his lips. His words were full of disdain. As the two talked, Shikamaru, who used the shadow imitation technique to freeze Hidden, secretly analyzed the enemy's intelligence in his heart. Is his companion a guy named Kakuzu? From what I heard, it seems that not all members of the Akatsuki organization have the strength of Fujiwara Chiya. It's a blessing in disguise. Answer me quickly. Asuma ignored Hidden, injected wind attribute chakra into the flying swallow in his hand, and slowly walked towards Hidden, with murderous intent in his eyes. You are really shameless. Hidden's face was still relaxed, with a slight smile on his lips, and a cunning arc. It's a pity that you got the wrong target. As he was talking, Kakuzu suddenly jumped out of the underground gold exchange, and punched out with a strange punch containing Earth Escape and Earth Spear. The building collapsed instantly, and Shikamaru was forced to dodge, and cancel the shadow imitation technique. Next, just like the original work, Asuma fought a hard battle with Hidden in the blood of the death of Hidden. In the end, he died heroically. Shikamaru, Tetsukoko, and Izumo Kamatsuki survived because of the arrival of Konoha reinforcement and the sudden call of pain, and the departure of Hiden and Kakuzu. Kainai hid in the dark and saw all this. On the roof of the gold exchange, Shikamaru Nera, Ino Yamanaka, and Shoji Akimichi of the 10th team surrounded Asuma in tears. Asuma, who was fatally injured, refused the treatment of Ino Yamanaka. After making a final statement to his 3 students, Asuma entrusted his daughter Mary Sarutobi to Shikamaru, and said unwillingly, "I haven't killed that man yet, and I haven't avenged my people yet, but I died in such a place. I'm so unwilling." Just when Asuma was about to die, Kainai appeared. He held a Zanpakuto and used the mirror flower and water moon to control the 5 senses of all the other Konoha ninjas except Asuma. At this moment, only the dying Asuma could hear his voice and see him. Asuma Sarutobi opened his mouth and tried to speak, but he had no strength left. His eyes gradually dimmed, and he began to lose consciousness. He did not expect that he would see his genocide enemy at the last moment before his death. "Since you are so unwilling, I will let you die knowingly." While Asuma was still conscious, Kainai told him why Kyuubi he was pregnant with his child, and why he wanted to castrate him. Fujiwara. Kainai. Asuma had a last moment of consciousness, with a strong sense of unwillingness. He looked up to the sky, and called out Kainai's name, and died on the spot. Kainai did not delay. In order to prevent Asuma from being resurrected by the impure world reincarnation, he swung his Zanpakuto and killed his soul at the moment of his death. Then he used Flying Thunder God to rush back to the Akatsuki cave outside the Hidden Rain village, entered the base, and began to seal the tailed beast. But, in the dark cave, the projections of the Akatsuki members appeared on the fingers of the Outer Path demon statue one after another. "You look so miserable, Hidden. Your clothes are torn like this. You must have suffered a lot." As soon as he saw Hidden, Deidara, who was originally ridiculed by Hidden for his broken hand, couldn't wait to gloat over his misfortune. "Stop talking nonsense. If it weren't for the bastard boss calling us back this time, we could have killed all the Konoha ninjas." Hidden sighed lightly and looked at Pin with dissatisfaction. "By the way, we were almost done, but he called us back just to seal the tutorial. Are you kidding? It's still raining here." "Hidden, shut up." Kakuzu scolded from the side. "No problem." Pin didn't care about Hidden's offense, but started to talk a lot, promoting his peace theory. This made Hidden extremely impatient, but he couldn't beat him, so he had no choice but to look at Kainai and change the subject. "By the way, Kainai, you have to thank me this time." "Why?" Kainai pretended not to know. "I killed a guy named Sarutobi Asuma for you," Hidden said with a proud look on his face. "Thank you so much for helping me get rid of an ant," Kainai said nonchalantly. Hidden is the most brainless guy in the Akatsuki organization, who only knows how to kill. The other party was about to be dismembered, and he was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. On the contrary, Kainai thought that Kakuzu, the Minister of Finance, could be rescued. Hidden heard Kainai's perfunctory words, and he sighed lightly, and said no more. Now he just wants to go back and kill all the Konoha ninjas who escaped from his hands. Little did he know that he was not far from death. PS. Second update. Please recommend and vote for me chapter 254. Tsunade vs. Kyuubi. Hokage's office. Shikamaru Nera, Tetsukoko, and Izumo Kamatsuki stood in front of their desks with their heads down, looking depressed. Tsunade, who had just finished dealing with a large pile of documents and had not been nourished by Chiya for a long time, lay lazily on her desk. After listening to the report from Shikamaru and the other two, her pupils shrank suddenly. While feeling sorry for Asuma, the Konoha ninja, she hurriedly asked, "What about Chiya? Did Fujiwara Chiya participate?" Although the Sarutobi family and Chiya had an irreconcilable blood feud, Asuma Sarutobi was, after all, a respected ninja in the village. If possible, Tsunade did not want her little man to resolve the irreconcilable feud with the Konoha ninja because of Asuma's death. That's not the case. Gangziti was stunned for a moment, scratching the back of his head in shame. Based on the situation at that time, if the Fujiwara Chiya who defeated Kakashi and others was here, I'm afraid we would have been wiped out. Hearing this, Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief, and then heard Akatsuki Izumi say, then there is Kyuubi in the future. Asuma, he is against Kyuubi. When talking about Kyuubi, the originally depressing atmosphere in the field suddenly became weird, and everyone's mouths twitched fiercely. Everyone knows that Kyuubi is not interested in Asuma, and Asuma was castrated by Chiya in his early years before his death, which makes it even more impossible. Without waiting for Tsunade to reply, Shikamaru answered, I will talk to Kyuubi in the future. As for Kyuubi teacher, I'll leave it to Hokage. I know. Tsunade sighed helplessly. When she mentioned Kyuubi, she had a headache. Time went back to 2 days ago. Kyuubi rarely came to Tsunade alone. Goddamn Sama. No, Sister Tsunade, I have something I want to talk to you about alone. This was the first sentence that Kyuubi said after seeing Tsunade. Wow, sister, you really know how to talk. Tsunade held her cheek with her jade hand and looked at Kyuubi with interest. She was over 30 years old, but she looked like she was 20 years old. She touched the pure gold ring on her left ring finger and sighed in her heart, saying that she was really well maintained. Although I will never get old. Shizune, go out. Tsunade said to Shizune. Yes. Shizune nodded and walked out with her pet pig. Go ahead. Tsunade looked at Kyuubi with a smile, but soon, she couldn't smile anymore. Sister Tsunade, I'm here to resign from you this time. I have decided to resign from my identity as a ninja. Kyuubi moved a stool and sat opposite Tsunade. She was no longer respectful as before, but just looked at her straight in the eyes, treating her as an equal. Tsunade felt the change in Kyuubi's attitude. The smile on her face disappeared, and she frowned and asked, why? Was it me, the 5th Hokage, who did something wrong? That made you resign from the position of Jonin? If you are dissatisfied with anything, you can tell me, and I will make changes if necessary, or I will crown you as the new Jonin. No, you have done a good job. The changes in the village in the past few years are obvious to all. There is no darkness in the village anymore, and it is now developing towards a prosperous direction. Kyuubi shook her head. She pondered for a moment, her cheeks flushed, and she said shockingly, the reason I resigned is because I'm pregnant. Pregnant? Tsunade's eyes widened instantly, with gossip flashing in her eyes. She stood up suddenly and asked anxiously, when did you get pregnant? How long have you been pregnant? Who is the father of the child? Kyuubi's face was red, and even her neck was stained with a layer of pink. After a little hesitation, she took a deep breath and said, Sister Tsunade, I hope you are mentally prepared. Don't be angry later. While speaking, Kyuubi took a pure gold ring from her neck that was slightly rougher than Tsunade's. In Tsunade's stunned eyes, she put it on the ring finger of her left hand. At this moment, Tsunade understood everything. Pure gold is a special material that only Kyuubi has. At the same time, it can also explain why Kyuubi is over 30 years old, but still looks like a beautiful woman in her 20s. It seems that this guy has given this thing to other women a long time ago. Tsunade suppressed her anger and tried to speak to Kyuubi in a calm tone. When Kyuubi recalled her past with Kyuubi, from the first meeting, to the absurd confession of love by the other party, to the pregnancy now. About 10 years. Kyuubi gave the answer in her mind. 10 years. At that time, he should have just graduated from the ninja school. Tsunade's expression was complicated, like resentment, reluctance, and anger. All kinds of emotions passed through her eyes, and finally turned into a weak sigh. Damn, after all this time, it turns out that I'm the latecomer. The memories end here. Tsunade's palm was pressed against the desk, and with a click, the desk made of Yamato would release instantly broke into pieces. Tsunade-sama, calm down, calm down. Gangzati, Shenyu Izumo, Shikamaru and others thought that Tsunade was angry because of Asuma's death, and hurried to dissuade her. Tsunade shook her head, stood up and walked to the window, turned her back to everyone, waved her hand and said, I'm fine, you guys go out first. Shikamaru and the others nodded, turned around and walked out of the Hokage's office. Tsunade-sama, what's wrong with you? Shizune asked hesitantly. Hong is pregnant. Tsunade bit her red lips tightly with her pearly teeth, and silent tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. Although she already knew what kind of person Kainai was, he must have cheated on many women behind her back. But knowing is one thing, and actually encountering is another. Tsunade is a strong woman, and being strong means possessiveness. This is why she gets furious every time she hears Kainai mention other women. But at the same time, she is also a woman with a fragile heart. When faced with a man's cheating, she will be sad and cry. This time, Kainai is completely out of control. "Are you pregnant?" Shizune was surprised, and her gossip spirit ignited instantly. She asked the same questions with almost the same reaction as Tsunade did at that time. When did you get pregnant? How long have you been pregnant? Who is the father of the child? It's Kainai's. Tsunade cried. What? It turned out to be Kainai. Wait, what did you just say? Shizune thought she had heard it wrong. Mr. Kainai, no way, he is your husband. How could it be? How do you think I was deceived by that guy? Tsunade asked instead of answering. Shizune listened and it seemed to be the case. The reason why Kainai was able to chase Tsunade was definitely due to the drunkenness. Later, when Tsunade became pregnant, her mentality gradually changed. Otherwise, with Tsunade's age, experience, she would definitely not look down on a pretty boy like Kainai. But it will be bad next time. Kainai got another woman pregnant, and this woman was a ninja from the same village, and she came over. Then, it will be a big deal next time. When Kainai comes next time, I'm afraid of the pill. PS. First update. Please recommend on monthly votes chapter 255. Tsunade's surprise for Kainai. The last 10-member meeting of the Akatsuki organization. Shizune. Just as Shizune was thinking, Tsunade's laughter rang in her ears. Here Shizune suddenly snapped and stood at attention. Tsunade smiled. Next, move Hong's gift to our house later. Why move it to our house? Doesn't Hong have a place to live? Shizune looked a little flustered. She knew that Lady Tsunade was holding back something bad and was waiting for Kainai to come and get in. Tsunade said, since that guy got her pregnant, he should take responsibility. As the head of the family, is there any problem for me to bring that bastard home? But will Hong agree? Shizune asked tentatively. Of course. If she doesn't agree, we can't force her, right? Tsunade's smile became more dangerous. Besides, Kyuubi is pregnant and needs someone to take care of her. It just so happens that all of us in the family know medical ninjutsu. When that bastard comes back and sees how well we take care of Kyuubi, I believe he will be surprised. She put her right hand on Shizune's shoulder and asked softly, tell me, am I right, Shizune? Yes. Shizune knew that, if she answered that it was not right, her shoulder might be broken, so she quickly gave the answer that Tsunade wanted. At the same time, she secretly complained in her heart, I'm afraid this is not a surprise, but a shock. Lord Kainai, I hope you will be happy. 3 days later, in the cave of the Akatsuki base, a sneeze suddenly sounded. Ha ha ha, what's wrong? Brother Kainai? Fiden looked at Kainai. Nothing, probably some beautiful lady is thinking about me again. Kainai rubbed his slightly sour nose, thinking of Tsunade and Kyuubi. Kyuubi was married and obeyed her husband, and he was barely able to get through it by speaking in an extremely responsible tone when she was pregnant and felt the least secure. But Tsunade was not so easy to fool. With Tsunade's tiger-like temper, I'm afraid she would be furious. This was also the reason why Kainai did not run to find Tsunade after leaving Kyuubi. Otherwise, if he ran into Tsunade who was angry, he would be in trouble. What a narcissist. Do you really think all women in the world are so stupid? Xiaonan said contemptuously. That's hard to say. Kainai responded with an intriguing smile on his face. Thinking back to the forced kiss in his mind, Xiaonan's pretty face turned red, and she turned her head to avoid Kainai's gaze and stopped talking. This made all the members of the Akatsuki organization stunned. Even Hidden, who had the worst brain, could see that there was something fishy going on between the two of them, and he laughed teasingly. There's an affair. There's an affair. Conan-chan, you're not going to have an affair with Kainai, eh? Conspiracy. As expected of Kainai, big brother. Yeah. Deidara, a diehard fan of Kainai, echoed. It looks like Mr. Kainai really has caught up with the leader's partner. Kakuzu was watching the fun and didn't mind making things worse. Of course, don't you see who I am, brother? From now on, you should call me sister-in-law. Kainai was in a playful mood. Several people glanced at each other and said something, causing Conan's cheeks to turn redder. Kainai, you bastard, try to say some more nonsense to me. While several people were talking, the sealing of the two-tail was finally completed. The two-tailed Jinchuriki died in the wooden man. His clothes were stained with blood, his hair was disheveled, and he fell to the ground, bringing up a cloud of dust. Shut up. Pin finally spoke, put down his hand seal, scanned the circle with his Samsara eyes, and finally landed his eyes on Kainai. His tone clearly showed that he was trying to protect Xiaonan. He said sternly, members of the organization are not allowed to interfere with each other's personal wishes. You should understand that. Of course. Kainai shrugged slightly, not taking it seriously. Pin made a TSK sound, and he realized that Kainai seemed to be less and less respectful of him as the boss. The seal has been completed. Now there are only 5 tailed beasts left. Deidara, Afei. Pin looked at Deidara and Obito. Yeah. Deidara responded softly, and Obito, who had let himself go, was possessed by the spirit of drama. In an extremely obscene way, he raised his hand and responded loudly, "Hey, I'm here, I'm here." Everyone had black lines on their heads, and they all looked at Obito with disgust. Pin had a blank expression on his face. The 3 tails will be resurrected soon. Next, you will start to capture it. To ensure that everything goes well, you should go there in advance. A smile appeared on Deidara's lips. Is it finally starting again? I have been looking forward to such thrilling things as capturing the tailed beasts for a long time. I'm really looking forward to it. This is the first time I have captured a tailed beast since I became a formal member. Obito's tone was still funny. Pin looked at Itachi and Kisame and continued, and Kisame and Itachi too. You also have to start capturing the 4 tails. It would be best if you conceal it together with the 3 tails. Understood. Itachi's answer was just like his cold appearance, with only 2 short words. Kisame was a little better, and his tone was more flattering. Is it finally our turn to take action? I've been looking forward to fighting the Jinchuriki for a long time. The 6 tails Jinchuriki who defected from the Kirigakage village is about to be found. I will capture him as soon as possible. Kainai, don't forget your mission. I hope you can find the location of the 8 tails before sealing the 6 tails. Pin was worried that Kainai would slack off again, so he warned him again. Kainai nodded slowly. Disband. Pin said indifferently. It's finally over. Hidden rubbed his sore neck. It's time to go to Konoha. Hidden. Kakuzu warned. You said Konoha. Hearing that the immortal duo was going to Konoha, Deidara, who always respected his predecessors, tilted his head to look at Kakuzu and hurriedly reminded him, if you are going to Konoha, I have a piece of advice for you. There is a Jinchuriki named Uzumaki Naruto there. If you meet him, you must be careful. Yes. Kakuzu nodded and took note of it secretly. But Hidden was not satisfied. He felt that he was being looked down upon. He pointed his finger at Deidara and said teasingly, hey, don't compare us with you, Deidara-chan. You are the young man who asked Kakuzu to sew your arm. Kakuzu glanced at Hidden with contempt and started to finish him off. It's better than having your head chopped off. Amid the quarrel between the two, the last 10-member meeting of the Akatsuki organization ended. While the Akatsuki organization continued to capture the tailed beasts, it began to gradually decline. Bang, the smoke dissipated, the outer path golem disappeared, and Chiya, Conan, and Pain jumped to the ground. Pain walked to the entrance of the cave, formed seals with his hands, and the boulder slowly rose. The dazzling sunlight shone into the cave. Pain bathed in the sunlight, turned his back to Chiya and said, Chiya, the body is in your hands. I think you should be very interested in the body of the Jinchuriki. After that, Pain stepped out of the cave. PS. Second update. Please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 256. Teacher Chiksha. You really know how to order people around. Kainai walked to the corpse of Yumu Ren, leaned down, and thought, is that so? This passerby character who only appeared in a few shots in the original work can't interest me at all, let alone trigger the system option. Well, let's put her body away first, and we'll talk about whether to save her later. To put items into the system warehouse, the other party must be unconscious and touched by hand before they can be put in. Thinking of this, Kainai reached out to touch Ren. Perhaps because of the angle, Xiaonan, who was worried about Kainai, turned around. In her sight, Kainai's hand actually grabbed the dead Ren's Xianbu. Xiaonan's face immediately turned cold, and she said in a cold voice, "What are you going to do with this body? Collect the body, otherwise what do you think I'm going to do? Or are you afraid of what I'm going to do, and are you jealous of the body?" Kainai put his right hand between Ren's neck and chest, put it into the system warehouse casually, turned around, and teased. "Boring." Xiaonan turned away proudly. Outside saw that Xiaonan did not follow, and was worried that his best friend would be bullied by Kainai, a playboy, so he called out. Xiaonan left after hearing the voice, and did not forget to give Kainai a warning look before leaving, as if to say, "Don't let Kainai become a female corpse." This made Kainai speechless for a while, and secretly swore in his heart that in the future, even if he forced her to marry, he would carry her into the bridal chamber, strip her clothes, hang her up and beat her, and make her call him daddy. Outside the Konoha village, the open plain was endless. There were large and small pits all over the ground. Looking at Naruto, who failed again, Kyangsha was speechless in her heart. At this moment, she had begun to regret accepting the task of guiding Naruto. She had seen stupid people, but she had never seen such a stupid one. As a ninja, this guy in front of him seemed to be useless in other aspects except for the amount of chakra. Kakashi, this guy, has he always been so stupid? Kyangsha looked at Kakashi on the side. Well, I guess so, but it's already amazing to be able to achieve this level in such a short time. Ahahaha. Kakashi scratched the back of his head and laughed awkwardly. I don't know if it was because Chihiro felt guilty for teaching Naruto hard, or because Naruto was indeed a little stupid. Thank goodness Uncle Jiraiya was able to teach him patiently for 3 years. Apart from the large amount of chakra, everything else is a mess. Chihiro sighed helplessly. Kakashi smiled and did not deny it. Then he seemed to think of something and suddenly asked, "Chihiro, the spiral shuriken that has been integrated with wind chakra, I remembered Tsunade once said that the foundation of your ninjutsu was taught to you by Fujiwara Chiya, so can I understand that he is also very likely to know this ninjutsu?" Not very likely, but I can do it all. So far, I can only integrate wind attribute chakra and fire attribute chakra separately, but Chiya can integrate all attribute chakras. Chihiro smiled proudly and praised her father in front of outsiders without hesitation. Hearing this, Kakashi took a breath of cold air and recalled Kainai's figure in his mind. He couldn't help but feel desperate inside. Such a powerful guy left Konoha and joined the Akatsuki organization. It's really a scary thing to think about. That's hard to say. Kyangsha blinked her cute big eyes, and a mysterious smile appeared on her cute little face. Kakashi thought Kyangsha was saying that she was sure to defeat Kainai, so he smiled and confirmed this answer in his heart. Kyangsha waved to Naruto in the distance. "Little Naruto, come here." "What's the matter, teacher Kyangsha?" Naruto obeyed, stopped practicing, and walked over quickly. Yes, since Kyangsha accepted the task of teaching Naruto, Naruto changed to calling Kyangsha teacher. There is no way. It is impossible not to change. Although Kyangsha is younger than all of them, she is Tsunade's daughter, and the generation is there. Strictly speaking, she belongs to the same generation as the 4th Hokage. She is 1 generation higher than everyone in Team 7. And the most important point is that he can't beat her. Yes, even Kakashi is no match for Chinatsu, who has learned the Rasen Shuriken. Not to mention that Chinatsu also has that kind of almost demonic perception. If you keep going like this, you will never be able to learn it, even if you practice for a lifetime. Tell me, where are you stuck now? Chinatsu slowly folded her arms and asked, imitating the way Kainai once taught her. Naruto scratched the back of his head, thought for a moment, and answered, maybe it's because you can't take care of both sides. Really? Chinatsu recalled Kainai's teachings, who had told her that beginners might encounter this situation, and gave her a way to deal with it. So she answered, since one shadow clone can't take care of both sides, then adding another shadow clone will do. Add another shadow clone. Kakashi, Yamato, Naruto and even Karen were stunned. Naruto was the first to react and used her shadow clones to roll balls. As expected, he actually rolled out the prototype of the Rasen Shuriken. At this time, Akatsuki Izumi, one of the two people who had been guarding Konoha for thousands of years, came and brought the news that Asuma had been killed. When did it happen? Kakashi, Yamato, and Naruto were suddenly plunged into great sorrow. Karen and Chinatsu looked at each other and nodded, without much reaction. For them, it was the best result for Asuma Sarutobi, who was almost crazy about killing Chiya, to die in the hands of others. 3 days ago. Because your training was at a critical juncture, I didn't disturb you, but now, at the end, Akatsuki Izumi's voice was as soft as a mosquito. That night, after nearly 3 days of preparation, Nera Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, and Akimichi Choji left Konoha to chase the immortal duo, just like in the original work, and Kakashi went with them. Chinatsu, Karen, and Yamato continued to stay to help Naruto complete the spiral shuriken. Then they rushed to reinforce. In the land of lightning, a natural hot spring somewhere in the desert, Chiya and Yakira soaked in the hot spring, enjoying a rare leisure time. Aha. Kanai stretched lazily, turned around and lay lazily on the stone wall at the edge of the hot spring. This natural hot spring is different. There is not the slightest artificial smell. It's comfortable, but Lord Kanai, Yikang, who had not eaten meat for a long time, came over, leaned on Kanai's back, hugged him from behind, and said softly, "Is this really okay? The leader wants us to find out the news of the Eight Tails." Feeling the surprise behind him, Kanai smiled slightly, and the two changed positions. "Actually, I have already found out the location of the Eight Tails, so it doesn't matter whether I find it or not. And if things go on like this, the defeat of the Akatsuki organization is only a matter of time. We don't need to do everything with all our heart. Please, first update, please vote for recommendation. Please vote for monthly ticket. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, The Second Subordinate, Kikuzu. Well, indeed, although the members of the Akatsuki organization are powerful, they are all arrogant. Once the information is leaked, they are targeted and besieged, and the chances of being killed will be very high. Yikang's face flushed, and his breathing was a little hurried. "So what are you going to do next?" Kayanai thought for a moment and said, "Let's go to the land of fire later. The information about Hidden and Kikuzu has been leaked. It's not a pity that the brainless guy Hidden died. The only thing worth praising is probably killing Asuma Sarutobi. But I think Kikuzu can still be saved. But before that." "Before what?" Yikang was stunned. "I'll tell you after it's over." Kayanai showed a mysterious smile on his face. 2 hours later, Kayanai and Yikang both put on their clothes with red faces. Yikang snuggled in Kayanai's arms, and invisibly, he became more dependent on the latter. "Master Kayanai, can you tell me now?" Yikang raised her beautiful face and looked at Kayanai. She was not curious about what Kayanai was going to do, but just liked the feeling of being alone with Kayanai. Chiya nodded slightly and symbolically formed a seal. The two tails Jinchuriki appeared in front of the two of them from the corpse of the wooden man. "This is..." Yikang was suddenly shocked. Chiya nodded slightly and used the god-level medical ninjutsu in Yikang's horrified eyes. On the other hand, when Chiya resurrected the wooden man, outside the Konoha village, there was a deserted forest with dead trees everywhere. Kakashi, Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji had encountered the immortal duo and were in a tough battle. As in the original work, Shikamaru chose to separate the immortal duo and let himself pin Hidden into the trap that had been prepared long ago. Kakashi, Ino, and Choji stayed behind to pin down Kikuzu and wait for reinforcement. Just when Shikamaru used Hidden to kill Kikuzu's second life and Kakashi and the other two were about to be killed by Kikuzu, Naruto, Chinatsu, Karen, and Yamato came to rescue. Naruto and Yamato use the wind style Rasengan and Yamato's water style broken flow to form a water tornado to offset Kikuzu's wind style suppression and fire style head striking combination attacks. Then Shinatsu and Karen were sent to reinforce Shikamaru. Naruto and Yamato stayed behind. Naruto used the immature Shuriken just like in the original story, intending to face Kakuzu alone. But Kakuzu's reaction was very different from the original story, because he had seen the image of Kainai using this move against Orochimaru. "This is the yellow-haired kid. Where did you learn this move from?" Kakuzu's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He had seen the power of this move. Not to mention that he only had 3 lives left. Even if he had 5 lives, he would be crippled if he was hit by this move. Hearing this, including Naruto, the 4 people in the field were stunned. Then he thought of Kainai again and suddenly realized, it seems that this guy named Kakuzu has seen the wind-style Rasen Shuriken before. Kakashi said, standing behind Naruto. Naruto nodded, and under the cover of 2 shadow clones, he used the Rasen Shuriken and rushed towards Kakuzu. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Kakuzu did not fight again this time, but chose to turn around and run away without any hesitation. Naruto chased after him, which caught everyone off guard. "Don't let that guy get away." Kakashi was the first to react and chased after him. Yamato, Ino, and Choji followed closely behind. During the escape, the experienced Kakuzu gradually discovered that something was wrong, because if Kainai had dealt with him, he would have thrown the fatal Rasen Shuriken to cut him. But Naruto did not throw it for a long time, but it did not last long and dissipated. In other words, he did not deal with it as well as Kainai did. Thinking of this, Kakuzu suddenly stopped and sneered at Naruto, Kakashi and the other 5. "Why did you finally give up? Are you not going to run away?" Naruto stared at Kakuzu. "No, it's not that I'm not going to run away, but there's no need to. I don't know where you learned that dangerous Rasen Shuriken move, but you probably haven't mastered it yet. As long as you can't throw it out, launch an attack, and touch me, then there's nothing to be afraid of. It just so happens that I'm still short of 2 hearts, so I'll use you guys to make up for it today," Kakuzu said, and launched a long-range attack on Naruto just like in the original. The result was exactly the same as in the original. In order to cheat Naruto, Kishimoto forcibly lowered the intelligence of Kakuzu, a ninja with more than 80 years of combat experience. He was tricked by Naruto's shadow clone and attacked by surprise, and Naruto hit his back with a Rasen Shuriken. Boom. The deafening sound of the thunderstorm sounded, accompanied by endless light and storm. It came into the eyes of Kakashi and others. The air was pushed away by the huge force, forming a milky white wind and waves, which quickly spread to the surroundings with Kakuzu as the center. The dead trees that could be hugged by several people were like paper, torn apart by this terrifying force, and turned into flying fragments, and then completely turned into ashes under the impact of the subsequent force. Even though they were still far away, the strong wind mixed with dust still made Kakashi and others subconsciously raise their arms to block their eyes. When the storm subsided, Kakashi and others put down their arms and opened their mouths unconsciously. In the distance, a large area of the forest that made up for the dead trees had disappeared. Roughly estimated, a huge pit with a diameter of nearly 50 meters appeared in front of them. Kakuzu's body was fixed in the sky by the storm, under the attack of the tens of millions of dense and tiny wind blades of the spiral shuriken. The mask representing the 2 hearts of wind and fire spit out blood, mist and then shattered. Although Kakuzu himself saved his last life, the wind blades killed all the cells in his body and he could not move. It was not until the wind blades disappeared that he fell freely into the pit. At this time, Shikamaru, who had already arrived and buried hidden, and Shinatsu and Karin, who were going to meet him, also arrived. At the same time, Chiya and Yakira, who left the flying thunder god mark on Naruto, also arrived. It seems that Hidden has been killed, and Kakuzu is also dying. But fortunately, I didn't arrive too late, otherwise I would be too lazy to do such a thankless task as resurrecting Kakuzu. This was the first sentence Chiya said after arriving. Yes, but I didn't expect that the Ninetales Jinchuriki actually learned your tricks. It's really surprising. Yakira nodded in agreement. Then he asked, so what are you going to do? First, let Kakashi mistakenly think that Kakuzu has been killed, and let Kakuzu experience the feeling of despair, and then we will take action. After all, we can't save Kakuzu in vain. From now on, his life will belong to me, just like Scorpion. Chiya smiled. Chapter 258 The Real Rasen Shuriken. The frequency of the attack far exceeds the standard. It can no longer be described by the number of times. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is density. What a terrible technique. Kakashi looked back at Naruto and then looked at Chinatsu. His face became more solemn. He thought to himself, rather than saying that the technique is terrible, it is better to say that the guy who created this technique is terrible. That guy Kanai did something that even the fourth Hokage couldn't do just by observing the tailed beast jade of the Jinchuriki. How strong is this guy? Senior Kakashi, the aftermath is left to you. Yamato looked deeply at the dying angle in the pit and said to Kakashi, leave it to me. Kakashi nodded and jumped down the pit. Standing in front of Angle, I was actually killed by a brat like you. Angle lay on the ground dying, his eyes full of despair and unwillingness. Indeed, in front of you who once fought with the first Hokage, we may be just brats, but in our eyes, you are just an old man who is out of touch with the times. Future generations will constantly surpass you. That's why you are dying here. Kakashi slightly closed his left eye, raised his right hand, and a ball of lightning appeared in his palm, blasting with a sizzling sound. Kakuzu suddenly laughed. What's so funny? Kakashi was stunned and stopped what he was doing. So that's how it is. I'm indeed an old man who is out of touch with the times. Kakuzu's smile disappeared, raised his head with difficulty, and stared at Kakashi. But, you will end up like me. What do you mean? Kakashi frowned, trying to get information about the Akatsuki organization before Kakuzu died. Kakuzu said, I remember Chiya. He should have been a ninja of your Konoha. Kakashi frowned more and more, and then he heard Kakuzu say, Chiya is very strong, 100 times stronger than me. No, 10,000 times. The strength you have shown so far is nothing compared to when Chiya first joined the Akatsuki at the age of 13 and killed 4 of my hearts in an instant. Even the technique performed by that Jinchuriki kid is just a copycat. Kakashi, whether it is you or that 9-tailed kid, Konoha and even the 5 major countries will be. Kakashi let Kakuzu finish his words because he knew that even if he let Kakuzu continue, he would not be able to get any information, and delay would lead to changes. In order to be on the safe side, he chose to act decisively. However, what he did not expect, and did not know, was that his Kamu was off target. At the critical moment, Chiya acted and used the mirror flower and water moon to change Kakashi's perception. Yamato looked at the people in Konoha. Okay, everyone, we should go back to Konoha. Everyone nodded slowly after hearing this. Hey, why is Naruto still lying on the ground? Ino and Choji noticed that Naruto had been lying on the ground and had not gotten up, so they hurried over to help him up. Chinatsu stood behind them and said, this is the result of forcibly using the technique. Wind-style Rasen Shuriken is not used like this. That's right, Rasen Shuriken is indeed not used like this. At this moment, a leisurely and pleasant male voice suddenly sounded. Fujiwara Chiya. Except for Karen and Chinatsu, the faces of the others turned pale. Kakashi, who was preparing to collect Kakuzu's body in the pit, heard the exclamations of the people in Konoha and appeared next to Yamato in an instant, staring at the front with a serious expression. Chiya was alone. He walked slowly towards them. He was still so handsome. The sunny smile on his face did not change at all, but in the eyes of the people in Konoha, they felt a little cold all over. After a hard battle, it was not easy to kill 2 members of the Akatsuki organization. Now suddenly a guy who has given them the most headaches so far has appeared. Nothing could be worse than this. Everyone, alert. Ino, Choji, take Naruto away quickly. The next battle is not for you to participate in. Kakashi took out a kunai, slightly closed his left eye, and was ready to go with his divine power. Next, this will be their only hope to defeat Kanai. Kanai walked to a distance of 4 or 5 meters from Naruto and his group and stopped. He chuckled and said, it seems that I'm a step late. It's okay for the idiot Fieden, but you even killed Kakuzu, an old ninja who is over 90 years old. But it doesn't matter. Next, I will let you see what a real wine-style spiral shuriken is. While speaking, Kanai slowly raised his right hand, palm facing up. With the sound of sharp air cutting, the spiral shuriken began to take shape quickly and then expanded to a diameter of more than 10 meters. So big Kakashi, Yamato, and Shikamaru looked horrified and pale. Ino, who was running for her life with Naruto, looked back and was so frightened that her body went limp and she fell to her knees. Choji was also frightened and fell to the ground. Compared with Chiya, Naruto's Rasen Shuriken was nothing. Why are you all still standing there? Run as far as you can. Leave the rest to me. Kakashi was the first to react. The three megatoma in his right eye turned into a sickle-shaped kaleidoscope. He waved his hand and called on everyone in Konoha to flee while releasing his divine power towards Chiya. Chiya's observation haki had already predicted it, and he had already sensed that Kakashi's chakra was gathering towards his right eye. At the moment he used his divine power, he dodged in advance. The next moment, the space where he was originally standing was instantly distorted, and the surrounding grass, trees, and rubble gathered into a vortex at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then was sucked into a strange space. With the oversized spiral shuriken still held high in his right hand, Kanai chuckled and said, "Is this the Mangekyou technique you used to break Deidara? It's really a rare space-time ninjutsu, both in terms of power and speed, but it's a pity that it's useless. Even the most powerful light technique requires chakra to release. When your chakra is concentrated in your left eye, I just need to avoid it in advance at the moment the eye technique is released. Did you see through it? But even if you see through it, this level of space-time ninjutsu can only be compared to this guy's instant body." Kakashi collapsed on the ground, his hands leaning back, breathing heavily. He had already been seriously injured in the previous battle with Kakuzu hidden. Now he used his divine power again and directly drained the chakra in his body. Seeing that Kakashi's Kamu was ineffective, Shikamaru, who followed Kakashi's instructions to flee far away, could not bear to leave his companions behind, and turned around quickly, performing the shadow imitation technique, intending to freeze Kanai. The result was undoubtedly the same as 3 years ago, and he was almost instantly freed. PS. First update. Please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 259. Kanye doesn't want to go home. Yamato wanted to use wood release to force Chiya back, but before the wood could get close to Chiya, it was crushed to pieces by the huge Rasen Shuriken. Everyone fell into great despair. Kakuzu's fate was still vivid in their minds. "No, stop it, Chiya." Naruto stood up with difficulty with the help of Yamanaka Rino and Akimichi Choji. Like Sasuke, Chiya, the only person who had been kind to him, the first person to recognize him, and the first person to care about him, he could not break the bond with him. Although Chiya invited him to eat ramen just on a whim, Chiya ignored Naruto and threw a huge Rasen Shuriken at Kakashi. "No, Inoshikacho." Naruto and Yamato cried out, and Kakashi was also desperate and closed his eyes, recalling his failed life in his mind. His father died, his best friend died, and his teacher and his wife died. Now he is finally going to find Obito, Rin, and his teacher. However, the intended attack did not come. In the astonished eyes of Naruto and others, the huge spiral shuriken actually bypassed Kakashi, leaving a shallow blood mark on his neck, and then turned into a stream of light, and flew to the distant mountain. Boom. A deafening explosion sounded, accompanied by endless light and heat. It came into the eyes of everyone in Konoha. The air was pushed away by the huge force, forming a milky white air wave, which quickly spread to the surroundings with the explosion as the center. The air wave continued to move. Trees that were several arms thick were like paper, torn apart by this terrifying force, turned into flying fragments, and then completely turned into ashes under the impact of the subsequent power. Even though they were still far away, the strong wind mixed with dust still blew away everyone in Konoha. Only Karen and Chinatsu escaped the end of being thrown to the ground, because Chinatsu performed Earth escape in advance. After all the storms subsided, Kakashi and the others all looked towards the direction of the explosion unconsciously, their mouths wide open in an instant. In the distance, the steep mountain peaks had completely disappeared. Roughly estimated, a huge pit of 200 to 300 meters appeared in front of them. A column of water that was enough for 3 or 4 people to hug gushed out from the center of the pit, straight into the sky, and then fell from the sky, submerging the pit that was blown up and gradually overflowing. "Is this the real spiral shuriken?" Everyone stood there in horror, looking at the mountains that disappeared in the distance, and finally uttered such a sentence after a long time. Ahem. Kanai pretended to cough lightly. It seems that I threw it in the wrong place. I really can't refuse to admit my age. At this point, Kanai looked at Kakashi. What's the matter? Kakashi touched his neck, that was still bleeding with lingering fear. In addition to fear in his heart, he couldn't help but wonder, the move just now could obviously tear him apart easily. Why did it suddenly change direction? Is it because of Naruto? Thinking of this, Kakashi couldn't help but look at Naruto, and found that he hadn't recovered from the shock. I suddenly feel that it would be too boring to kill you like this. I will take Kakuzu's body away later. Kanai said, so that's the case. Please pretend that you didn't see me today. Hearing this, everyone in Konoha looked at each other, frowned, and looked confused. Seeing this, Kanai added, then let me say it another way. If any one of you tells others that you saw me today, or if there is information outside that I have appeared here, then I will throw a spiral shuriken at Konoha. Don't look at me. I don't have any blood sacrifice or special physical talent, but I have a lot of chakra. If you split 1,000 shadow clones and perform the scale of ninjutsu just now, you can probably launch it 3 times in a row. What do you think will happen if a ninjutsu of that scale falls into Konoha? Maybe Konoha will no longer exist by the time of the first 1,000 rounds. Kakashi sighed and closed his eyes. He knew that the other party was not bragging. Chiya, who had wiped out the Sarutobi clan, could also destroy Konoha. It was just a matter of whether it was necessary. Then it's settled. Goodbye, everyone. I look forward to fighting you next time. By then, it may be the last battle. After saying that, Chiya blinked at Chinatsu, and with a bang, the smoke dissipated and disappeared from everyone's sight. At the same time, Kakuzu's corpse in the pit also disappeared. It's saved. As Chiya left, Akimichi Choji, who was originally lying on the ground due to the storm, turned over and lay on his back on the ground in a T shape, gasping for breath. Chinatsu, Karin, Kakashi, who was cautious by nature, let them sense Chiya's chakra as soon as possible. After confirming that Chiya was really gone, his tense nerves relaxed. With his chakra exhausted, he fell to the ground face first. Kakashi-senpai, how do you feel? Yamato hurried forward to support him. Well, it's okay. I finally got my life back. This is all thanks to Naruto. Kakashi forced a smile and looked at Naruto. He subconsciously thought that it was Naruto who called Chiya. Just now, Yamato was stopped by Kakashi's eyes before he finished speaking. I know. Everyone, no one should tell anyone about Fujiwara Chiya today. We will report to the Hokage in person later. What about Chiharu? Yamato turned around and glanced around, but did not find Chiharu's voice. Chiharu just performed reverse summoning and went back. Karin made up a reason, but in fact she secretly complained in her heart, I also want to find Chiharu. On the other side, Chiharu had not left far away when a hand suddenly rested on her shoulder. Without any hesitation, Chiharu turned around and threw herself into the arms of someone. You are so sure, aren't you afraid of recognizing the wrong person? Chiharu stroked his daughter's head and said gently. Because only Kanai can hide from my perception and make me unable to read your mind, so I will never make a mistake. Kyangsha greedily sucked the breath of Kanai. Her cute little face rubbed against Kanai, and her two slender little hands tightly hugged Kanai's neck, as if she was unwilling to let go for a moment. Nothing is absolute in the world. Don't rely too much on your special ability, otherwise you will suffer a great loss when you meet a really powerful character in the future. Kanai warned. I know Kanai. Kyangsha kissed Kanai on the face. You kid, how many times have I told you to call me dad? Kanai was helpless, sighed, and then asked, by the way, how is the situation at home now? It's good at home now. In order to take care of my unborn brother, my mother took Aunt Han to live at home. Kanai, when will you go home to see me? Kyangsha raised her beautiful face and showed a devil-like smile. The corner of Kanai's mouth twitched, and in an instant, he lost the desire to go back. My goodness, Tsunade, this tiger woman, is just sitting back and waiting for something to happen. Chapter 260 Furious Tsunade. After using Flying Thunder God to send Chinatsu back to Konoha, Kainai came to the meeting place with Yakira. Kakuzu had been brought here by Yakira. Looking at Kakuzu, who was dying and seemed to be about to die at any time, Kainai smiled and said, "Your vitality is really strong enough. You can survive after being hit by that move. How do you feel? I really didn't expect that you would save me." In a weak voice, Kakuzu's body trembled, and he raised his head with difficulty and looked at Kainai. "Where is that guy Fiden? It seems that after that idiot cheated you of your life, he fell into a trap set by others in advance, was blown to pieces, and buried underground. It is estimated that it will not take long before he will die completely due to loss of nutrients." Kainai smiled lightly. "That idiot." Kakuzu had a complicated expression and cursed in a low voice. Kainai understood Kakuzu's thoughts and knew that it was rare for this guy to meet a ninja of the same type as Fiden. He whispered, "Why, are you feeling sorry for the death of your partner?" "No, nothing." Kakuzu looked away and asked casually, "Didn't you follow the leader's orders to go to the land of lightning to find the eight tails? How come you suddenly appear here?" "That kind of thing is fine." Kainai didn't care. He changed the subject and suddenly said, "The important thing is what you should do next. Now, you are in the outside world, but you have died in the hands of the team, where the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is. Do you want me to betray Akatsuki?" Kakuzu was a smart man, and quickly understood what Kainai meant. He didn't think that Kainai saved him out of friendship. The friendship between the two was not that good at all. The other party would not save him for no reason. He must be planning something. Betrayal is too harsh to hear. "I'm just temporarily withdrawing from Akatsuki," Kainai said. "Think about it. You who have just experienced life and death. You know what the current situation of Akatsuki is. If it continues like this, sooner or later, it will die out. You don't deny this, right?" "Indeed." Kakuzu denied, "But I'm afraid I will disappoint you. Now, the earth resentment tentacles in my body have been almost completely destroyed, and I can't even replenish my heart. This is not a difficult task." Kainai took out a magic bean. "This is a special medicine. As long as a person is not dead and is still hanging on to a breath, after eating it, he can almost instantly restore physical strength and energy in extreme weakness and readjust the body to the best condition." "There is such a magical medicine?" Kakuzu looked at the unremarkable bean in Kainai's hand, without any doubt. He knew that Kainai would not lie to him, and there was no need to lie to himself, a dying man. "So what's your choice?" Kainai said patiently. "Wait here for the last heart to stop beating, and then die in pain, or eat this bean, and be loyal to me. Do I have any other choice?" Kakuzu smiled bitterly. Who would want to die if they had a chance to live? Then he seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, "But I have another condition. If it can't be met, even if I live, it will only be a torture." "Money?" Kainai smiled. In his mind, he had already begun to imagine the scene of Kakuzu crying when he saw Zayanin take out the 600 billion detonating tags. Kakuzu nodded heavily. "Money is the only thing in the world that will not betray." Kainai said, "It's up to you. If you want to continue to be the financial director, that's fine, but you don't have to show up for the next period of time. I'll take you to a place. There's an old acquaintance there." Kakuzu was stunned. An old acquaintance? Then he reacted, "Is it Scorpion?" In his opinion, the only old acquaintance Kainai knew was the dead Scorpion. But since he was still alive, Scorpion was probably no exception. Kainai nodded, flicked his finger, and shot the senzu beans into Kakuzu's mouth. The next moment, the earth grudge tentacles that had originally lost their activity in Kakuzu's body moved, and then began to gradually become active. This is. In Kakuzu's shocked mood, the chakra and earth grudges in his body began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, even the 4 hearts that were lost grew out of thin air. It seems that you don't need to rely on taking hearts to survive in the future. Seeing Kakuzu's heart recover, Kainai's eyes also flashed with surprise, and then he put his hand on Kakuzu's shoulder, leaving the flying thunder god mark, and said, "Then let's go." While speaking, Kainai put his other hand on Yi Kang's shoulder, and in Kakuzu's incredible eyes, he used flying thunder god to teleport to Scorpion Hokage's office. "Kainai, that guy. With a roar, Yamato's new desk that he had made with wood release a few days ago was smashed to pieces by Tsunade. Hokage, calm down. Kakashi, Yamato, and Naruto, who had just finished reporting to Tsunade, thought that their Hokage was furious because Chiya threatened Konoha and hurriedly tried to dissuade her. Little did they know that she was angry because Chiya didn't dare to go home. That's the end of this matter. For the safety of Konoha, no one should mention the guy's appearance today. Tsunade crossed her arms and said sternly, I understand. Kakashi nodded, and then Tsunade said, in addition, Naruto, from now on, your Rasen Shuriken is listed as a forbidden technique and is not allowed to be used anymore. Naruto was anxious when he heard this. This was his hope, to catch up with the second pillar. Why, Tsunade-san? I think you should be able to feel that kind of power. As a Jinchuriki, you are affected by the nine tails in your body and cannot control chakra perfectly. The wine-style Rasen Shuriken is more like a poison than an attack. It will destroy the cell nerve center of the person who is hit by the technique and cut off the connection between cells. Although you are the caster, you can't throw it like Chinatsu and Kainai, so it is inevitable that you will suffer some damage. If you continue to use it, one day your right hand will no longer be able to condense chakra. Tsunade's words directly broke Naruto's fantasy. He didn't want to become a useless person. If his right hand can no longer condense chakra, then let alone catching up with Sasuke, it is still a question whether he can be a ninja or a Jimaru base. For 3 years, the second pillar has been demonstrating the lightning release Chidori in the personal training ground. On the other side, in the gloomy and dim underground secret room, the candlelight flickered. Orochimaru was lying on the bed, listening to Kabuto's report with interest. Really, Kakuzu and Hiden are both dead. Yes, it seems that Naruto's team did it. Kabuto answered while mixing milk powder. Next to the bed, a baby girl who looked like Orochimaru was lying in the crib. When she heard the conversation between the two, she suddenly woke up, cried, and her neck and face were flushed. Chapter 261. As Uzi failed to show off and was beaten. Shut up. Orochimaru glared at the baby with his long golden pupils, and the baby stopped crying immediately. Kabuto stretched out his index finger and tested the temperature of the milk. It seems that it was the right choice to leave Naruto alive to help us get rid of a few more members of the Akatsuki organization. Orochimaru laughed, and a playful lark appeared on his face. I'm afraid those guys in Akatsuki didn't expect to lose 2 members at once. While talking, Kabuto naturally picked up the baby girl, first changed her diaper, and then fed her. Everything seemed so warm. TSK. Orochimaru glanced at the child in Kabuto's arms, frowned, and said in a deep voice, Kabuto, it seems that you like Mitsuki very much. Mitsuki is the name of the baby girl in Kabuto's arms. In addition, she has another identity, the daughter of Orochimaru. She was born when Orochimaru took the initiative to ask to drink the water of the mother and child river. No, not really. It's just because this is your daughter, Lord Orochimaru, that's all. Kabuto looked normal. He would not admit that he was born in an orphanage, so he took good care of Mitsuki. Otherwise, even if she was Orochimaru's daughter, he would not pour out his emotions. Is that so? Orochimaru reluctantly believed Kabuto's words, and then returned to the topic. By the way, those guys from Akatsuki have already got the two-tail. At this time, we should take advantage of the victory, and continue to weaken their strength. This is the best strategy. Kabuto was startled, and cold sweat dripped from his forehead. Lord Orochimaru, could it be you? Yes, the three-tail. Orochimaru showed a sinister smile on his face, and licked his lips. But if that's the case, Lord Kainai, no, I'm afraid that guy Kainai will not let us go. Kabuto swallowed his saliva. It doesn't matter. The reincarnation period is coming soon. That guy who is full of evil taste will never make a move before Sasuke, and I decide the winner. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with golden light. Besides, when that time comes, the power of Sasuke and I will be combined. I will not be afraid of Chiya or Akatsuki. So can you please make a trip? Send the child. What about Mitsuki-sama? Kabuto said hesitantly. Orochimaru acted as if he didn't care. For this kind of thing, you can just find a nanny. It's just a test subject. As he spoke, He suddenly grabbed his chest and felt a sharp pain in his body. Orochimaru cursed in his heart. Damn, is the rejection reaction coming again? It seems that the rejection reaction has worsened after giving birth. But it doesn't matter, it's almost there. Almost there. Sasuke is mine. But before that, I can use this body to have another baby with Sasuke. Thinking this in his heart, Orochimaru's pale face once again showed a sinister smile. Because of the body's rejection reaction, painful and happy, Orochimaru planned to have another child with Nahashi, but Nahashi didn't know. If he knew, he would probably vomit and faint on the spot. At this moment, he has begun to prepare to kill Orochimaru. Ever since he learned about the weakness of the reincarnation of the corpse from Chiya, he has been eager to merge with Orochimaru and gain his power. And just when Kabuto, following Orochimaru's order, left the base and set out to find Byakugan and Amaru in order to seize the Three Tails, Nahashi took the opportunity to seize Orochimaru's postpartum weakness, and just like in the original work, used the Chidori sharp spear to pierce Orochimaru's hands. The nature and form of this chakra changes Fujiwara Chiya. Orochimaru was shocked, and then he thought that the Chidori sharp spear seemed too weak compared to Chiya. No, you are not Fujiwara Chiya. Who are you? I don't know. That annoying man who knows this trick. Several knife flashes passed, and the door shattered. The second pillar walked in with the Chidori sharp spear in his left hand and the Kusanagi sword in his right hand. Sure enough, this trick. Seeing that it was Sasuke who came to assassinate him, Orochimaru did not show any surprise. You have nothing to teach me. The cursed rune spread from the neck to the face. The three Magatama Sharingan opened, and the second pillar stared at Orochimaru. Orochimaru, you are weaker than me now, so I don't need to give my body to you next. You are really arrogant Uchiha's little chick. Do you really think you are Uchiha Itachi, Fujiwara Chiya? Orochimaru gritted his teeth. I don't need to be Uchiha Itachi, nor do I need to be the second Fujiwara Chiya. Just like when I was a fledgling in the Chunin exam, you trampled on me wantonly. Uchiha Itachi, the guy who killed my parents and clansmen. Fujiwara Chiya, the guy who teased me again and again. I will kill them all. Let's start with you. Najira slowly stepped forward, and the Chidori sharp spear pierced through Orochimaru's arms and nailed them to the wall. Next, Najira, like the original work, madly belittled Orochimaru and madly praised Uchiha, and began a formal competition with Orochimaru. In order to get rid of Najira's Chidori sharp spear, Orochimaru used the Great Snake style substitution technique to escape from his mouth and reveal his true form, the white phosphorus snake. But in front of Najira's Chidori sharp spear in the second state of the curse seal, it seemed so vulnerable, and it was cut into several pieces in a few strokes. Don't play dead, Orochimaru. I know you won't die from this level of attack. Najira exited the curse seal state. After weakening Orochimaru, he planned to let Orochimaru perform the reincarnation technique, and then take over the opponent's power. Really? It seems that you have investigated my ability very well, Sasuke. The half of the white phosphorus snake on the ground moved, speaking human words, and it was actually Orochimaru's voice, but you are still too young. As Orochimaru finished speaking, Sasuke suddenly knelt on one knee, supporting himself on the ground with his left hand, and felt numb all over. This is the body fluid of white phosphorus Orochimaru. Once it comes into contact with air, it will turn into an anesthetic. Sasuke, it seems that you have lost. It's just an anesthetic. What can it do to me? Najira looked calm and composed. The corners of his mouth showed a hint of disdain and success. For him, it didn't matter whether he was hit by the anesthetic or not, as long as he could still use his eye power, so that he could get everything from Orochimaru at the moment when the other party took his body. However, before he could be happy for long, the bell that had never been used suddenly rang, and he felt extremely hot, extremely uncomfortable and excited. Haha, this is not just anesthetic, but also the secret medicine that Fujiwara Chiya used on the Konoha high level officials. The white phosphorus Orochimaru's huge mouth slowly opened and spit out Orochimaru's body. Secret medicine? Nizuki was stunned and suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. Although he didn't know what the secret medicine was, anything from Fujiwara Chiya's hands was definitely not good stuff. Huh, you didn't know? Orochimaru showed a surprised expression on his face and said with a smile, "It seems that what Fujiwara Chiya did in Konoha, those guys in Konoha didn't tell you. But it doesn't matter. In the next 10 days, before my belly gets bigger, you should enjoy the remaining time of your life. I'm starting," Orochimaru said, and pounced on Hashira. Chapter 262 As Yuzi opens the kaleidoscope. The ruins of the ancient city of Laolan. Ha 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 ha. Kanai sneezed several times for no reason, and his tears were about to fall out. "Master Kanai, what's wrong with you?" Yi Kang asked with concern. "Nothing, I guess someone is thinking about me again." Kanai rubbed his slightly sour nose, and turned his eyes to Kakuzu and Scorpion opposite him. At this time, Kakuzu had put on his mask again, and changed into a black robe like Scorpion. And Scorpion has remodeled his body. According to the Spark concept of Transformers, the regeneration core is hidden in the body. At the same time, the main body also has the ability to transform. In this era, when the combat power is not yet collapsed, it is enough to cope with most battles. Then Kakuzu, for the next period of time, you will stay with Scorpion for a while, and assist Scorpion in completing the research work on the dragon veins. Don't show up again in the short term. It doesn't matter to me, as long as this guy doesn't come to bother me. Kakuzu folded his arms, turned his back to Scorpion, with a proud face, and returned to his previous unfathomable appearance. "That's really unfortunate. I don't know how to please people, and I don't have much good feelings towards you, an old antique who doesn't know how to keep up with the times." Scorpion didn't look at Kakuzu well. Old antique? These 3 words were said by Kakashi not long ago. Kakuzu felt very harsh when he heard them, so he glared at Scorpion. "You bastard. Then let me teach you." The two of them were arguing with each other. "Master Kanai, is this okay?" Looking at the noisy two, Yi Kang rubbed his forehead with a headache. "Nothing, just drug the battle." Kanai smiled and took out a scroll from the system warehouse. Before he could speak, Kakuzu's dark green eyes suddenly lit up, and the light of money flashed in his eyes. "This is..." He recognized at a glance that this was the scroll that Kanai had taken from the Sarutobi family, and it contained at least a dozen Asuma. "Kakuzu, didn't you say you wanted to be the financial director? There are about 500 million taels in here." Kanai handed over the scroll. Kakuzu was about to take it, but Kanai took it back. "Don't worry, there are conditions. You say, as long as there is money, everything can be discussed." Kakuzu turned into a licking dog. Hearing this, Kanai threw the scroll to Kakuzu, who immediately felt like he had found a treasure. "From today, you will honestly cooperate with Scorpion here, and don't play the style of a senior anymore. The same goes for Scorpion. Since you have finally gained a new life, don't be stubborn anymore." At this point, Kanai's face suddenly showed a sly smile. "Kakuzu, do you know how much money I have? 1 billion. Kakuzu, who was about to open the scroll, paused and roughly stated his guess. "Do you really think that I have only robbed the Sarutobi clan in these years?" Kanai shook his head and stretched out his index finger. 1 billion. Kanai has robbed a lot of these Navo-rich such as Kado who are rich and unkind. Although he is not a good person, who cares about how much money he has? 10 billion. Kakuzu swallowed hard and looked at Kanai again with admiration. Even though he was the Minister of Finance of the Akatsuki organization, he had seen a lot of money, but he had never seen 10 billion. How much money would that be? It would probably take several months to count. "As long as you help Scorpion to complete the control of the dragon vein, I will give you all the money to manage." Kanai looked at Scorpion, and Scorpion too. "I guess you must miss your parents very much." Scorpion made a TSK sound, turned his head away proudly, and did not deny it. Then Kanai said, "As long as you help me complete this dragon vein, after the matter is done, I can give you a senzu bean, so that your grandmother can inject life into the puppet and revive your parents, like she did when she resurrected Gaara. So, the next step depends on your performance. If you are short of funds, you can find Kakuzu, the Minister of Finance. No problem." Kakuzu agreed. 10 billion. 10 billion. At this time Kakuzu has begun to imagine the feeling of lying in a pile of money. "I know." Scorpion nodded slowly. He also fell silent in the memories of his childhood. Then Kanai gave them some more instructions. When Scorpion asked about Hidden by chance, he saw Kakuzu's fleeting look of desolation. While he sighed in his heart that Kakuzu and Hidden were good friends, a plan suddenly came to his mind. A sense of evil interest arose. It seemed that Hidden's body was blown to pieces. In this case, it would be better to consider changing his body. It seems that a pig is quite good. Anyway, this guy doesn't look very smart. At the same time, in the room of Orochimaru's base, the ground was in a mess. There were traces of fighting and discussion everywhere. Haha, you really deserve to be Sasuke-kun. It's good to be young. Orochimaru laughed, tied the purple long rope belt, looked back at Nabashi, pursed his lips, and was still unsatisfied. He found that he seemed to like this feeling. At this moment, the pupils of the second pillar were dilated, forming the shape of the Chinese character. He lay on the ground with no desire to live. The anesthetic effect of the anesthetic produced by the white phosphorus snake and the Viagra had not yet worn off. Thinking back to what Orochimaru had just done to him, an unprecedented anger surged into his heart. Under the influence of this emotion, a special chakra immediately surged out of the second pillar's brain, acting on the optic nerve, causing the eyes to change. First, it turned into an ordinary 3 megatommer, and then the 3 megatommer began to rotate rapidly, and finally directly transformed into a 6-pointed star. Yes, under the extreme humiliation given by Orochimaru, the second pillar was too angry, and opened the Mangekyou Sharingan. However, unlike the original work, the object of anger is no longer Konoha, after learning the truth about Itachi's extermination of the clan, but Orochimaru. At the same time, there is Kainai. If it weren't for Kainai's secret medicine, Orochimaru would not have succeeded. At this moment, the second pillar had 2 more must-kill lists in his mind. Opening the Mangekyou also consumes a lot of chakra, just like when Kakashi fainted after opening the Mangekyou at the same time as Obito. The second pillar, who had fought 2 different battles with Orochimaru before, instantly used up the little chakra he had left when he opened the Mangekyou and fainted directly. Orochimaru didn't know that the second pillar opened the Mangekyou because of him. Seeing the second pillar fainted, a sinister and dangerous smile suddenly appeared on his face. Haha, did Sasuke, who has a strong sense of self-esteem, faint because he couldn't stand such a blow? But it doesn't matter. There are still 10 days left, and the time for reincarnation is coming. During this period, I will let you live well. At the same time, in order to prevent the Uchiha clan from becoming extinct, I will also leave you offspring. Haha. Suddenly, the huge underground base echoed with the sinister laughter of Orochimaru. Chapter 263, Ninja Pig Feedin'. The forest belonging to the Nara clan is full of deer shadows. Kainai and Yikang stood in front of Hidden's burial place, with a wild boar lying in front of them. Under Kainai's earth release ninjutsu, the rubble in the pit was gradually piled up, and pieces of Hidden's corpse gradually poured out. First the broken limbs, then the corpse, and finally the dead head. Standing on the rubble he looked particularly impressive. Ah, Kainai and Yikang. Are you here to save me? Hidden, who had given up all hope for resurrection, and was quietly waiting for death, was awakened by the dazzling sunlight, and opened his eyes, staring at Kainai and the other 2. Seeing Hidden's appearance at this moment, even though Kainai and Yikang were used to seeing dead people, they couldn't help but feel nauseated. Don't ignore me, hey, hurry up and get all the horns and reattach the head for me. It hurts me so much. Hidden had a hash mark on his forehead and his eyes were bloodshot. It's hard to imagine what kind of pain he was enduring at this moment. Pain. This is not the attitude of asking for help, Hidden. Kainai winked at Yikang, who picked up a piece of gravel and smashed it over. Snap! Exclamation mark. Hidden's head was smashed in a circle, from facing Kainai and the 2 to the back of his head facing them. Asshole, how dare you hit me with a rock? Hidden became furious and shouted, if you dare to be disrespectful to me, the evil god will eventually punish you. I'm the one who punishes you, and I will use my teeth to bite you. I'll tear you apart. Yikang, go ahead, Kainai said with a smile. There was no need for Kainai to speak. Yikang had already taken action the moment his words fell. Hidden, who was chatting incessantly, suddenly spotted a dark figure. Seeing Yikang looking at him murderously, his face darkened. He swallowed the non-existent saliva and said in a trembling voice, what do you want to do? Making barbecue. Yi Kang casually cut off a branch. A wicked smile that was very different from Kainai's appeared on his face. What? Hidden was shocked. He thought he was perverted and bloody enough, but he didn't expect that the little girl in front of him was even crueler than him. She wanted to roast him and eat him. Haha. That Hagura-chan. It's my fault. I just said the wrong thing. You, sir, have a lot, so please spare the little one. Hidden's forehead was dripping with cold sweat, and he was not at all as fierce as before. You can't scream, Hagura-chan. As Hidden groaned in pain, Hagura inserted the branch from its broken neck and planted it on the ground. Ah, it hurts. It hurts. Hidden struggled to squeeze out a flattering smile. Yakura-chan. No, Aunt Yakura, Lord Yakura, Queen Yakura, please. Please spare the little one, okay? Compared to me, you should apologize to Lord Kainai more. Yi Kang lit up a Magatama-shaped blazing white flame in his right hand. It was actually Zuo escape. Hey, what do you want to do? Hidden saw the fierce look on Yi Kang's face and instantly had a bad feeling in his heart. Could this guy have really roasted himself? Barbecue. Yi Kang casually threw the flame on the ground, and the ground with a diameter of about half a meter with Hidden as a center immediately burned. Oh, it's so hot. It's so hot. It's almost cooked. It hurts. I apologize, Kainai. I'm sorry. It was the younger one who was rude. If you have a lot, just go around the younger one. Ah, it's almost cooked. Hidden wailed in pain. Call Lord Kainai. Yi Kang increased the intensity of the flames. I know. I know. I know. Master Kainai, please make Master Yi Kang stop. Hidden begged frantically for mercy. It would have been better this way. Kainai smiled faintly. Yi Kang, stop quickly, otherwise this thing will burn to ashes. Hearing this, Yi Kang put away the flames, and at this time, Hidden the paint has been burned and turned black. Can you put me down first? This damn branch hurts me so much. Hidden exhaled a puff of white smoke and said hesitantly, would you like me to help you find all the corners and sew up your body? Kainai discussed with Hidden with a smile, which made the latter feel terrified. He realized that the guy in front of him was the most ruthless of that. If that's okay, Hidden said flatteringly, I won't look for you, Kakuzu. Even if I do, I won't be able to get your broken body back. Kainai shook his head. Then what should we do? When Hidden heard this, he immediately became anxious and yelled subconsciously, but after noticing Kainai's eyes, he immediately weakened and prayed that Kainai-sama, I heard Zao say you have great supernatural powers and have mastered many extraordinary ninjutsu. Please see if you can help me put the body together and then send a message to Kakuzu. I can't put these pieces of meat together for you, but I can still change your body. Kainai and Yi Kang looked at each other and looked at the wild boar prepared in advance. This is a small wild boar. In order to fit Feidu's neck, Kainai carefully selected it. Changing bodies? Cold sweat broke out on Hidden's forehead again, and he suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. This bad premonition finally came true when they noticed the little wild boar behind Kainai and Yi Kang who had been possessed by an illusion. Next, under the influence of Kainai's god-level medical ninjutsu, Hidden's head was successfully transplanted into the little wild boar's body. Gilu. Hidden saw that he was actually mounted on a pig, with bulging veins and bloodshot eyes looking at Kainai in horror. Devil, this guy's definitely a devil. Yi Kang watched dumbfounded. After holding it in for a long time, he let out a puff and couldn't help but burst into laughter. Lord Kainai, will this method work? If it were anyone else, it would definitely not work. After all, there are fundamental differences between humans and pigs, and they will produce huge rejection reactions, but Hidden is different. This guy has an immortal body, and is just a little wild boar. Kainai also said happily, looking at it. Hidden looked like a man with the head of a pig, and since the surgery, he couldn't stop smiling. Kainai could clearly feel that Hidden's chakra flowed to the pig, and then returned to Hidden's head, thus forming a perfect cycle. This ordinary wild boar instantly turned into a ninja pig. It's really breathtaking. Yi Kang took a deep breath and was stunned. Is this okay? Hidden moved his newly connected neck, and felt helpless for a moment, feeling a sharp pain coming over him. But these are no longer important. It's entirely conceivable. What kind of life will he have in the future? Oh no, big asshole, how dare you turn me into this? I'm going to kill you and bite you to pieces. The great evil god will not let you go. Hidden was furious and his eyes were split. No longer playing tricks. Controlled the wild boar to rush up. Kill. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264 Orochimaru second platform. Kill. Fujiwara controlled the wild boar to kill. Kanai turned slightly to the side, and with a bang, Fujiwara pig crashed into the tree, performing a face breaking. Oh bastard, it hurts so much. It hurts. The severe pain made the newly connected neck show signs of cracking again, and Fujiwara howled in pain. Ha ha ha, Fujiwara, do you want to make me laugh to death and then inherit my Huabi? Kanai watched Fujiwara get up with difficulty and laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. Humans are upright creatures, walking onto legs, and pigs have 4 legs. Fujiwara's brain is not very smart, so it's strange that he can control the body of the little wild boar. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. Fujiwara spent a long time trying to get up, looking at his little pig's trotters, wanting to cry but without tears. He seemed to see his miserable pig life. Okay, you keep saying this every day. Look back carefully. No one can put your broken body back together. It can't be put together. Kanai pointed at the stones on the rubble. Fujiwara looked back, and it seemed to be true. Then you can't change it to a pig. Where can I find a new body for you in this wilderness? Kanai rolled his eyes at him. Although he was not a good person, he would not kill anyone he caught. Today is just an experiment. I will change you to a suitable body tomorrow. Really? Fujiwara blinked his bloodshot eyes, and his pupils revealed innocence. Kanai was disgusted by this guy and said seriously, of course. Hearing this, Fujiwara's face immediately showed a touching expression, but he saw Kanai took out a rope and put it around his neck and subconsciously asked, hey, what are you doing? Walking the dog. You can't completely control this body now. I tied my body up to prevent it from falling. Kanai said nonsense seriously. Fujiwara was stunned. Although he always felt that something was wrong, he couldn't figure it out. After thinking about it, he couldn't figure it out. Kanai was too lazy to talk nonsense with this pig. He led Fujiwara and hugged Kang, performed Flying Thunder God, and returned to the ancient city of Laolan and handed him over to Kakuzu. 10 days passed in a flash. During this period, Orochimaru's plan to send Kabuto to use Gun and Huanayamaru to control the three-tailed beast undoubtedly failed. The three-tailed beast was eventually captured by Deidara and Obito together, and the two pillars were tortured by Orochimaru during these 10 days. Orochimaru base. How is the situation? Orochimaru sat on the hospital bed, looking at the doctor opposite who was examining him. Your physical condition is a little bad, and you have begun to have a great rejection reaction. If you don't hurry up. The doctor's forehead was covered with cold sweat. It seemed that he was afraid that he would kill him if he was not satisfied. I asked about the changes in the baby's body. Orochimaru's eyes were full of blood. I'm sorry, Lord Orochimaru. Maybe because it is too small, I didn't find any abnormalities. I can only confirm it through instruments. Without waiting for the doctor to finish his words, Orochimaru swung out his long tongue, and a knife flashed, and the doctor's head fell to the ground and fell down. Waste. Orochimaru put away his long snake, and cursed in a low voice. Kanai, that guy, deliberately didn't tell me that the growth cycle of a child conceived with a man is no different from that of an ordinary child. Is he trying to repeat his old tricks and delay my reincarnation? At this point, Orochimaru suddenly lifted the quilt, stood up and laughed wildly. I won't be fooled. It's just an Uchiha embryo. I'm determined to have Sasuke's body. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, the huge underground base was filled with Orochimaru's crazy laughter again. If Kanai was here, he would definitely say that Orochimaru was overthinking it. He didn't want to delay the reincarnation period. It was just a momentary bad taste. He never expected that Orochimaru would actually be stronger than the second pillar. Who is it? Suddenly, Orochimaru felt someone outside the door. It's me, Lord Orochimaru. The door of the room opened, and Kabuto walked in with cold sweat on his face. He was just shocked by the crazy Orochimaru. It's Kabuto. How is the situation of the three-tailed? Orochimaru's murderer Sora was slightly restrained. I'm sorry, Lord Orochimaru. It was destroyed by those guys from Konoha. It was the group that Naruto was in. Kabuto stood up solemnly, bowed, and said in a trembling voice. Contrary to Kabuto's expectation, Orochimaru was not angry, but walked past him calmly, patted his shoulder, and said, "It's time to prepare for the reincarnation ceremony, Kabuto. Clean it up." Yes. Kabuto was stunned for a moment, responded respectfully, took a long breath, and slowly walked to the table. When he saw the information about Orochimaru on the table, Kabuto was stunned again. It took a long time for him to recover and murmured, "This is... Lord Orochimaru is pregnant again." On the other side, Orochimaru had already arrived at the room where the two pillars were imprisoned. "It's almost time, Sasuke-kun. I'll tell you a good news before you die. I'm pregnant. Yes, the child is yours. I guess this is a trick that Kana uses to delay my reincarnation, so that I won't hesitate to act rashly. But unfortunately, I won't stop for a mere Uchiha test subject." As soon as he opened the door, Orochimaru started to talk to Uchiha Chiya. His long golden eyes were bleeding, and he spat out sour water. But it was a pity. Chiya still looked like he had no desire to live, but after hearing that Orochimaru was pregnant, he frowned slightly. He didn't say anything. Looking at Chiya's expression, Orochimaru thought Chiya had accepted his fate and sneered. "Haha, Sasuke-kun, have you accepted your fate? Then I won't be polite. I'm starting." Orochimaru said, spitting out a snake, and spitting out a white phosphorus snake used for the reincarnation ceremony from his mouth, swallowing Sasuke in one gulp, and taking him into the different space used for the reincarnation ceremony. The pregnant body, after shedding its skin, was left behind. In the different space of the reincarnation of the corpse, the boundless red sea of flesh and blood squirmed, gradually wrapping up the second pillar. Opposite the second pillar, a flesh ball gradually rose up, squirming, revealing the face of Orochimaru. Orochimaru held his long tongue and smiled sinisterly. "Haha, Sasuke-kun, now your body and your eyes are mine." As he spoke, he controlled the flesh ball that wrapped himself, stretched out two tentacles, and gradually pounced on the second pillar. The second pillar did not answer, but closed his eyes tightly, still looking pitiful. Just when Orochimaru was about to think that he had won, the second pillar suddenly opened his eyes. First the three Megatama, then the main Gekio, and finally the curse seal. PS. First update. Please recommend, please vote, please subscribe. Chapter 265. The counterattack of the two pillars. Main Geki plus curse seal plus Orochimaru. Under the influence of the two pillars' curse seal, the red flesh mass surrounding the two pillars gradually turned into black. The curse seal spread, and finally turned into an eyeless monster with long sharp teeth, which in turn bitten Orochimaru. These eyes are like this. Looking at Urzu's pupils, that had turned into six-pointed stars, Orochimaru suddenly burst into shock, and lost his voice in horror. It can't be wrong. When did this main Gekio Sharingan come on? Urzu finally spoke. "Of course it started from the first day you did something unforgivable to me. Because of my anger towards you, I opened the main Geki Sharingan." Speaking of this, Urzu seemed to have been ruined. With a sickly smile on his face, one of the four Uchiha laughing heroes came into the world early. "Haha, Orochimaru, how long do you really think your mere anesthetic can control me? To tell you the truth, I have been enduring the humiliation and burden for the past few days. This is the moment I have been waiting for. While you are using the immortal reincarnation, seize it in turn. Use your power to enhance your own strength. Although your power is already insignificant in front of my eyes, it is always good to have more hope of defeating Itachi." The originally flesh-red alien space was completely backfired by the power of the two pillars' curse seals. It turned from blood red to black. The huge alien space suddenly became dark, and only the faint light could clearly see the outlines of the two people. The two pillars of the main Geki Sharingan looked particularly dazzling in this strange space. "Impossible!" Orochimaru yelled, still not giving up, struggling to break away from the black flesh ball, and rushed towards the two pillars. "I'm the immortal Orochimaru. These eyes are mine. Mine. I want to use these kaleidoscope Sharingan eyes to detect Kainai's illusion, to defeat him, to kill him. As he spoke, Kainai's figure kept appearing in Orochimaru's mind. From the first meeting between the two, to the failure to seize Itachi's home, to defecting to the Akatsuki organization, and being threatened by the other party, to being blackmailed by the other party over and over again during the Chunin exams, and then even being tricked into losing his hands. His whole life, it seemed that he had been being played by Kainai ever since he met Kainai, and he was unwilling to accept it. He, Lord Orochimaru, is one of the legendary three ninjas. He is very unwilling to be manipulated by a mere junior. However, he is extremely unwilling to accept it. However, if he is unwilling to accept it, in the face of absolute power, everything is just a cloud. Before Orochimaru could touch the second pillar, his body was bitten by the eyeless monster again. And Zin, that guy with bad taste is also my target. Ursu read the unwillingness in Orochimaru's eyes and activated the magic last hit. But there is one thing, I think you misunderstood. That guy Kainai giving you that medicine was not designed to delay your reincarnation. From the very beginning, he told me the weakness of the immortal reincarnation, allowing me to bite back and take away everything from you. Said, so far, everything has been planned by that bastard Kainai. Hearing this, Orochimaru's lungs were about to burst with anger, but at this moment, he couldn't even speak because of his facial expression. Already wrapped in black flesh, only one eye remains. Just when Orochimaru was about to be completely swallowed, Ursu's voice sounded again. There is one more thing, I might as well tell you. Maybe I know the purpose of that guy giving you that medicine. At this point, Ursu gently stroked his eyes and looked at Orochimaru through his fingers, probably just so that I can activate the Mangekyou Sharingan. After saying that, Orochimaru was completely wrapped in black flesh, and Orochimaru was temporarily offline at the same time. Kabuto had already restrained the body of the doctor killed by Orochimaru, and by the way, he also fed Orochimaru's daughter Mitsuki a wave of milk. When he walked to the secret room, where Sasuke was imprisoned, he saw that the secret rooms were wide open. Orochimaru's body after shedding, lay on the ground. At the same time, there was a huge white phosphorus snake coiled in the room. In terms of appearance, the big snake did not suffer any damage, but from its dim pupils, it can be seen that this white phosphorus snake is already dead. There was not much time for Kabuto to be shocked. Knowing that Orochimaru was pregnant, Kabuto immediately came to the body left by Orochimaru's molt and used medical ninjutsu to maintain the vitality of the embryo in his body. Has the reincarnation ceremony begun? Who wins? Kabuto used medical ninjutsu while looking up at the motionless white phosphorus snake coiled on the ground. Suddenly, with a pop, a pure white blade stretched out from the belly of the white phosphorus snake. Then a black shadow came out of the big snake's body and landed on the ground, which turned out to be two pillars. These eyes. After noticing Ursu's eyes, Kabuto was instantly shocked. His throat rolled, he swallowed hard, and struggled to speak out word by word. Manflalachu brighting Rinai. What? It's Kabuto. Ursu glanced at Kabuto with a look of pride on his face. Seeing that he was performing medical ninjutsu on the body left after Orochimaru shed his skin, he frowned slightly and asked in a deep voice, "What are you doing? This body is already pregnant with a child. If left alone, the fetus will die due to loss of nutrients." Kabuto answered subconsciously, his eyes trembling. At this moment, he could no longer distinguish what was in front of him. Is this person Orochimaru or the second pillar? Whose child? As the saying goes, a tiger cannot eat its own child. If possible, Ursu did not intend to kill his child. But he will definitely kill everyone who knows about this. Next, he plans to kill everyone in the base who knows about this. Kabuto was an exception. He had just returned from a mission, so he probably didn't know that it belonged to him and Orochimaru. Of course, if he knew, he wouldn't be polite. In front of Uchiha's honor, even his unborn child is not worth mentioning. I just came back from the Kingdom of Water, and I don't know yet. Kabuto shook his head, and his clothes were already soaked with sweat. That's it. Then you should keep this child well. If he wants to seek revenge from me, when he grows up, you are welcome at any time. After saying that, Ursu slightly closed his eyes, closed his Sharingan, staggered Kabuto's position, and the two passed by. Wait. Who are you? After hearing this, Kabuto already knew that Orochimaru had failed, but he still didn't want to believe this fact in his heart. How could the Orochimaru-sama he admired most die? How is that possible? If Orochimaru-sama dies, then who does he matter? Will there still be people who can prove their self-worth? Who knows? Ursu turned around, with half of his face covered by shadows, showing an inscrutable look. He opened the 3 Megatama Sharingan, and partially deleted what happened in the reincarnation space of the two, using the illusion appeared in Kabuto's eyes. PS. Second update. Please recommend and vote for me. Please vote for me monthly. Chapter 266. The turmoil after Orochimaru's death. Lord Orochimaru is dead. Kabuto was so scared that he collapsed to the ground. Suddenly, Kabuto felt dizzy. Orochimaru was dead. For Kabuto, who had been a spy for different countries since he was a child, homeless, and even the only orphan director who was close to him no longer recognized him. He felt that he had lost his life goals and identity again. Although his age was about the same as Uchiha Itachi and Fujiwara Chiya, and even a few years older than the former two, he did not have Uchiha Itachi's bloodline limit talent, nor did he have Fujiwara Chiya's extremely powerful ninjutsu, te, and jinjutsu talents. Lord Orochimaru, the only one who could give him a sense of existence, was dead. Kabuto's mentality exploded. Ah, that's it. Nisuzi glanced at Kabuto with an indifferent tone, turned and walked outside. He did not kill Kabuto, or he disdained to kill such a small character. Moreover, his and Orochimaru's children also needed someone to take care of them. With Kabuto's loyalty to Orochimaru, he would definitely take good care of the children. Next, he only needed to find and kill everyone in the base who knew that Orochimaru had outpowered them. Soon, a wailing sound rang out in the huge base. In the end, only Mitsuki, Kabuto, and the child in Orochimaru's belly, who didn't know about the humiliation history of the second pillar, survived. After experiencing this major change, Kabuto's mentality also changed quietly. He remembered Kainai's affirmation of himself. Then he remembered that Naruto found his true identity by surpassing his own power, the tailed beast in the Battle of Shiandi Bridge, and he could do the same. So he transplanted Orochimaru's white-scaled snake shell to his left half of his body, intending to obtain Orochimaru's power and even surpass him. Kabuto officially started his career as a wall hanger. Hokage's office. Tsunade summoned Naruto and Sakura, who had not appeared for a long time. Tsunade stood behind the desk with her arms folded. Orochimaru is dead. This was the first sentence Tsunade said after seeing Naruto and Sakura. Naruto and Sakura's pupils shrank suddenly, and they recalled the figure of Orochimaru in their minds, and they felt a chill. How could such a strong guy? Could it be that Sasuke did it? Soon, Tsunade's words confirmed their guess. It was Uchiha Sasuke who did it. How is it possible? That monster. Naruto's forehead and cheeks were covered with cold sweat. Jiraiya, who was standing on the right side of the desk, added, "It can't be wrong. This information is obtained from a reliable channel. So, does that mean that Sasuke can finally return to the village?" Naruto swallowed hard and said something that even he didn't believe. Sakura also cast an expectant look. How is it possible? Jiraiya shook his head. Why is this happening? Isn't Orochimaru dead? Naruto asked hurriedly. Uchiha Sasuke has been overwhelmed by hatred. Now he wants to seek revenge on Uchiha Itachi. Jiraiya said, according to reliable information, Uchiha Sasuke is now recruiting people to form a team. He seems to be eager to seek revenge on Uchiha Itachi. At this point, Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at each other, and a solemn look flashed across their pupils. When Chiya spread the photos of Konoha F4's carnival during the Chunin exam, they were all over the place. They suppressed it, and didn't let Sasuke see the photos of Danzo transplanting the Sharingan in the first generation cells. If Sasuke knew about this, I'm afraid that guy would turn his spearhead to Konoha. This is what they are most worried about. Although they don't know the specific situation, the fact that the second pillar can kill Orochimaru is enough to prove its danger. At this time, Tsunade thought of her little man, and couldn't help but feel annoyed. If she had known, she wouldn't have lost her temper so much, causing that guy to not dare to return to Konoha for a month or two. If her little man was here, he would definitely know what was going on. In the end, after some discussion, no, to be precise, at Naruto's strong request, just like the original work, Konoha sent out Team 7 and Team 8, led by Kakashi, to search for Uchiha Itachi and lead out the second pillar. It's just that Team 7 has undergone some changes. Because Danzo was kidnapped by Chiya, Sei still stayed in the root organization. Sakura was transferred to the medical team and missed this mission. Before leaving, she cried and begged Naruto to bring Sasuke back. The two were replaced by the new Team 7 members Chinatsu and Karin. At the same time, the Akatsuki organization also received the news of Orochimaru's death. But, in the dark and closed cave space, the candlelight flickered, and the projections of Akatsuki members appeared one after another. Compared with the last time, it was obviously much quieter. From the original 11 people, it became 9. Too slow. Itachi, Kisame. Pain looked at Kisame and Itachi with dissatisfaction. At this moment, it was raining over Kisame's side. She had just captured the Four Tails Jinchuriki. She didn't act like hidden, but found an excuse and explained politely, I just captured the Jinchuriki. In order to prevent him from escaping, I tied him up. It took a little time. So, what's the matter with you looking for us this time? There is a piece of information that I want to tell everyone right away. Pain said, Orochimaru was killed. As soon as these words came out, the Zen Lantern bonfire shook violently, and the scene suddenly became serious. Kainai thought to himself, is it finally time? It seems that Orochimaru still couldn't escape the fate of being offline temporarily. I just don't know if Viagra and I love Orochimaru will work. If they do, I'm afraid that according to the character of the second pillar, he will probably be angry and open the manger key. Haha. Is this guy finally dead? He has been away from the Akatsuki organization for 7 or 8 years. It saves us from taking action. And that pair of zombies, I'm really looking forward to seeing their death. Kisame laughed. Hidden and Kaku are our companions. Don't say such things. Pain scolded. Sorry. Kisame smiled awkwardly and turned to Kainai, but that guy is really good. He was able to kill Orochimaru who escaped from Mr. Kainai several times. Who is he? Uchiha Sasuke. Pain answered. As a brother Kon, Itachi's eyes flashed with joy, and he was happy from the bottom of his heart that the second pillar became stronger. But Deidara, who admired Kainai very much, was dissatisfied. What? How could that little kid compare with brother Kainai? He must have stayed by Orochimaru's side every day and took advantage of Orochimaru's surprise to attack him. Huh. Hearing this, Kainai looked at Deidara with some surprise. His little brother seemed to have become smarter. Maybe, but it is an indisputable fact that he killed Orochimaru. He really deserves to be Itachi's brother. Kisame chuckled and looked at Itachi. Itachi looked like this, but he was very happy in his heart. However, before he could be happy for long, Kainai's words instantly made him uneasy. PS. First update. Please recommend on monthly votes chapter 267 as uses shocking news, making him vomit blood in anger. Hey. Kisame, you bastard. Deidara tutted and looked at Kainai with dissatisfaction. Brother Kainai, you should say something. Someone is shitting on you now. No, I don't think it's a big deal. After all, it wasn't easy for him to kill Orochimaru this time. If what I expected is correct, this second pillar is likely to have opened the Mangekyou Sharingan. Kainai shrugged slightly. Obito and Itachi were both startled at the same time and looked at Kainai with narrowed eyes. Itachi said, what's going on? Hearing this, the others also cast curious and solemn eyes. The name of the Mangekyou Sharingan was well known to everyone present, especially Itachi, whose strength in the Akatsuki organization was even more obvious to all. Being able to possess the Mangekyou Sharingan means that he already has the strength to threaten most of the Akatsuki members present. This made the Akatsuki members present have to be cautious. It's nothing, actually. I started to get in touch with him very early. No, to be precise, this kid took the initiative to find me and wanted to become my disciple in order to gain the power to defeat Obito. Kainai said calmly. So, brother Kainai, how did you do it? Deidara was stunned and asked subconsciously. Of course, I agreed first and then refused. Kainai crossed his arms. Everyone was puzzled, and question marks appeared on their faces. The so-called agreeing and then refusing means that you put forward conditions first and then refuse to admit it after the other party has done it. Kanai talked freely. Then what conditions did you put forward? The one who asked the question was Obito. He was very curious about how the second pillar opened the Manjaki Sharingan without seeing the death of the person he cherished. It's nothing, just let him call me dad. Kanai looked at Obito with a playful look. Everyone was stunned. Dad? Good guy? Itachi and the second pillar are brothers, and this guy's feelings even took advantage of Itachi, especially Pain and Konan. Knowing that Kanai accepted Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke's mother, their mouths twitched fiercely. This guy really has a great taste. Kanai glanced at Obito, Pain and Obito with a meaningful look, and spread his hands, and continued, in this sick ninja world, killing fathers and mothers, bullying teachers and destroying ancestors, has become the norm, especially teachers are a high-risk industry. Orochimaru killed the third generation, and Nizuki killed Orochimaru. These two are typical examples. Among them, it is even unknown. God knows how many similar things have happened. Only a fool would run to accept an apprentice. Do you think life is too long? As soon as this was said, all the members of the Akatsuki organization, including Pain, fell silent, because they couldn't refute it. Some of them had either killed their teachers, or hadn't done it yet, but when they really did, they would never be merciful. This is the sick ninja world. Everyone is neurotic. For their own purposes and ambitions. It is not uncommon to betray teachers and ancestors, and to kill fathers and mothers. Then, second-rate guy, Obito, who had transformed into a scoundrel, was still not giving up. He was possessed by the spirit of drama, glanced at Itachi, scratched the back of his head obscenely, and changed the topic. Then, how did Sasuke-kun open the Manjaki Sharingan? Do you still remember the famous carnival scene of Konoha's high-level officials such as Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo 3 years ago? Kanai did not continue to keep the secret, and said frankly, at that time, I gave them special strong medicine, one that can enhance that ability, and the other is a medicine that ignites that ability. In addition, when he defected from Konoha, I gave him a special medicine to drink. That ability? Special medicine? All the members of the Akatsuki organization were virgins, and they were confused. And Yikang's pretty face had already blushed. His little man was really bad. You really are a bunch of old bachelors. Kanai glanced at the members of the Akatsuki organization with sympathy. You are all grown up, but you have never experienced the relationship between men and women. The so-called that aspect is what men and women do in the bridal chamber. And the special medicine is even more powerful. As long as you drink it, both men and women can get pregnant. When Danzo was fed that medicine by me, he got pregnant with several platforms in succession. Conan's pretty face flushed. She glared at Kanai with a reproachful look, and cursed in a low voice, you are so frivolous. Kanai smiled faintly and continued, then after Orochimaru learned about Danzo's situation, he said that he wanted to do some research. During the cooperation period of the Chunin exam, he used an S-level ninjutsu to exchange one from me. Then was Sasuke able to open the Manjaki because Orochimaru used this medicine? Deidara seemed to have discovered a new world. His eyes lit up instantly. Although it was indecent for a man to get pregnant with a platform, it seemed to be an art when it was put on the Uchiha he hated the most. No, Najera is the vessel that Orochimaru has been dreaming of after Itachi, and he will not use it for Najera. Kanai smiled wickedly, with the degree of perversion of Orochimaru. I guess he wants to get pregnant with the Uchiha clan's child, and provide himself with a spare container. The Uchiha clan's Manjaki Sharingan can only be opened when they are extremely angry or sad. If Orochimaru really used that medicine on Najera, with Najera's temper, it is estimated that he may really open the Manjaki in anger. Hearing this, the members of the Akatsuki organization fell silent again, and looked at Kanai like a devil again. Especially Itachi, he was about to kill. His favorite Itoto was dirty, and he had a child with Orochimaru, that disgusting guy. Then he thought of the future. Sasuke said that he would marry Sakura and give birth to Sarada, and he breathed a sigh of relief in an instant, comforting himself in his heart that Orochimaru should not be pregnant. It's not good, Itachi senpai. It seems that your Itoto had a hard time killing Orochimaru. Obito was eager to watch the fun. Now that the Akatsuki organization's capture of the tailed beasts has come to an end, he is eager for Kainai to fight with Itachi. No matter who dies, it will be one less stumbling block for him. This is only based on the premise that the second pillar can open the manger key. If it doesn't open, it means that he hasn't been hurt. If it opens, then it will be hurt. Kainai said with a smile. Okay, enough chit chat. Pain couldn't stand it anymore. He was worried that if Kainai continued to make such trouble, the Akatsuki organization would be led astray. Anyway, everyone should be wary of Uchiha Sasuke. After saying that, Pain looked at Zetsu. Zetsu. I was just about to say that. White Zetsu chuckled and said gloatingly, Uchiha Sasuke is now gathering his partners to hunt down Kainai and Itachi all over the world. I can understand Itachi, but I didn't know what was going on with Kainai before, but now I roughly understand. It seems that Uchiha Sasuke may really open the Mangekyo Sharingan, and he has a deep resentment towards Kainai. PS. Second update. Please vote for recommendation in monthly vote chapter 268 Pain. Kainai, go capture the 8 tails. Kainai, Itachi, the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan plus Orochimaru's curse seal cannot be underestimated. You have to be careful next time. The same goes for others. Uchiha Sasuke might cause trouble for you for the information about the two of them. Pain looked around and said in a deep voice. That's really exciting. The Mangekyo Sharingan. Deidara stretched out his right hand and licked his lips. As for the curse seal, which was completely unartistic, he simply ignored it. Hey, Deidara-senpai, don't have any strange ideas. I don't want to be affected. That's the Mangekyo Sharingan and the Mangekyo Sharingan of Itachi-senpai. Obito advised Deidara. Although he said so, he deliberately emphasized Itachi and the Mangekyo Sharingan. Kainai didn't hear any dissuasion, but instead had the meaning of fueling the flames. Everyone in the Akatsuki organization knew that Deidara had been brooding over the illusion that he had been hit by Obito. Obito said this, clearly wanting Deidara to challenge Sasuke while he was waiting for an opportunity to get information about Sasuke's eye technique. After all, the Mangekyo is extraordinary. No one can guarantee whether there will be any strange abilities. Obito's Kamu and Shizuka Tamatsukami are two good examples. Sure enough, after hearing what Obito said, Deidara immediately fell for it. Shut up. This time, I'm going to use my art to defeat that second pillar. Huh. Deidara, in that case, then I'll be the bait. It just so happens that I also want to see how much my good has improved. Kainai said. Kainai Senior, aren't you still looking for the 8 tails? Obito looked at Kainai, frowning slightly under the mask. In the future, Obito will still need to use the second pillar to balance Kainai, the unstable factor. If possible, he doesn't want to let Kainai face Sasuke, because he knows that even the Mangekyo can never be Kainai's opponent. That thing has been found. It's in the Cloud Ray Gorge of the Hidden Cloud Village. Kainai said casually, after we capture the remaining 6 tails, we can start to capture them. Cloud Ray Gorge. Pain repeated and said to Kainai, then, after I capture the 6 tails, the 8 tails will be handed over to you. 8 tails. It's me again. Kainai did not show any surprise. Pain and Konan looked at each other. The latter hesitated for a moment and added, the 8 tails is second only to the 9 tails among the 9-tailed beasts. When the time comes, Pain will need to capture the 9 tails. There is no one more suitable than you in the organization. I think Kisame is more suitable. He has the ability to absorb chakra. He is the type who becomes stronger when facing a stronger opponent. With Samehada, it should not be a problem to capture the 8 tails alive, as long as he is worried that he cannot completely transform into a tailed beast. Kainai threw the pod to Kisame. And in addition to the 8 tails Jinchuriki himself, we also need to consider the Raikage and the entire Kyuubi village. The 8 tails Jinchuriki is the Raikage's younger brother, and a fight with the 8 tails Jinchuriki will inevitably create a big commotion. By then, the Raikage and the Kyuubi under his command will be a trouble. I think that Yi can, and I can stop the reinforcement of the Kyuubi village, and Kisame can go to capture the 8 tails. This is more appropriate. Mr. Kainai, you are too kind. After hearing Kainai's words, Kisame was stunned for a moment, then a flattering smile appeared on his face. You are worthy of being Mr. Kanai. You can understand my intelligence so thoroughly without ever seeing me fight. Of course, after all, I have been an Anbu in Konoha for a year. I even found out that Danzo transplanted the Sharingan in the first generation of cells. How could I not pay attention to such a famous figure in the ninja world as a 7 ninja swordsman? Kainai crossed his arms. Kisame neither believed nor disbelieved Kainai's words. He glanced at Itachi and asked Kainai, why didn't you include Mr. Itachi just now? Takeo, we still need to deal with his stupid Itoto. Let's wait until he can survive. Kainai curled his lips. In his heart, this guy who killed his father and mother was already a dead man. Even if he didn't die at the hands of the second pillar, he would die of illness. Kisame suddenly realized, I see, but I think Uchiha Sasuke will not be so lucky this time when he meets Mr. Kainai with your strength. That depends on Takeo, if he doesn't mind me killing the second pillar. Kainai looked at Itachi with a playful look. Itachi frowned and said coldly, I will solve this matter myself, and he has what I need. You see, that's it. Kainai shrugged slightly at Kisame. Kisame nodded slightly and looked at Itachi again with a more complicated look, thinking to himself, is it still impossible to do anything to his brother? Then let's wait until the first 7-tailed beasts are sealed before we talk about the capture of the 8 tails. Itachi, Kisame, bring the 4 tails here as soon as possible and seal it together with the 3 tails. Disperse. After saying that, Pin released the illusion body. 5 days passed in a flash. Akatsuki, Konoha, and the second pillar were all taking their own actions. Akatsuki sealed the 3 tails and the 4 tails. Konoha sent a joint team of Team 7 and Team 8, led by Kakashi, to carry out the task of capturing Uchiha Itachi alive. The intention was to find the second pillar by capturing Uchiha Itachi. After gathering his companions, the second pillar embarked on a journey to search for the Akatsuki organization to obtain information about Uchiha Itachi. Finally done. Such days are really hard to endure. Although Yikang has joined, it still took a lot of time to seal the 9 magic dragons. In the dark and closed cave, Kainai stretched lazily as soon as the tailed beasts were sealed. Why are you, a shadow clone, complaining about the hardship? Zayanan glanced at Kainai with contempt. Just 5 days ago, when this guy heard that he had to seal again, he relied on his extra chakra and performed the reverse summoning technique and went home to accompany his wife and children. Haha, have you been discovered? The shadow clone smiled awkwardly and asked in surprise, how did you know? I'm a perception type ninja. Although you have set up a barrier at your residence, there is no barrier outside the house. I haven't sensed the chakra of your family these days. They only stay at home when you are here. Zayanan rolled his eyes. As expected, this old pervert is doing that again. Kainai smiled faintly, without denying, and turned his gaze to Yikang, asking, Yikang, how does it feel to join the seal for the first time? 5 days of being unable to move, without food or water, is indeed not something that ordinary people can endure. I can only rely on chakra to support myself. Yikang sighed lightly. Fortunately, there were senzu beans, otherwise she would have gone crazy. Of course, this is super hard, huh? Upon hearing this, Deidara seemed to have found a compatriot and began to complain. Chapter 269 Mrs. Mikoto's request. After having nothing to say, Pain urgently called him to stop. Thank you for your hard work. I will start to capture the Vulpix next. The final stage of the organization has come to an end. This is the result of your joint efforts. Peace is coming. Here we go again. Deidara was not interested in listening to Pain's long speech. He was keen on technology. Compared with peace, he cared more about the 2 Uchiha pillars that turned on the kaleidoscope. So he hurriedly asked Kainai, so, brother Kainai, when will the bait plan you mentioned before be implemented? You can do it at any time. I will cancel the shadow clone and notify the main body. The shadow clone turned to Kainai and said, Yikang, I will leave the ring to you for the time being. Then use reverse channeling and summon my body back half an hour later. Yikang knew that Kainai was hiding the flying thunder god and nodded in agreement. On the other side, at the moment, when the shadow clone was released, the main body in Uin village, Kayana learned the news. Has this moment finally come? Kayana looked at Mrs. Mikoto, who was sleeping soundly in her arms, gently put her down, and slowly stood up. Although the movement was very gentle, Mrs. Mikoto was still awakened by Kayana. What's wrong, Kayana? Mrs. Mikoto rubbed her sleepy eyes. Last night, Kayana had tormented her quite a lot. Fortunately, not long ago, she learned from Kayana that Sasuke had killed Orochimaru and was safe and sound. Kwan should reward this little man for everything he has done for Sasuke over the years. Just now, the shadow clone sent news that my little stepson Uzi has now gathered his partners to hunt down the obedient son all over the world. Now a member of the Akatsuki organization who doesn't deal with the obedient son is going to trouble Uzi. I'll go over and check it out. Look. Kayana replied. Has it reached this level? How could it be like this? A soft voice asked twice in a row. When she heard that the younger son wanted to seek revenge from the older son, Mrs. Mikoto turned around and covered her pretty face with her beautiful hands. Her eyes suddenly turned red. Release the mist. All of this has been doomed for a long time. It has been doomed since the moment when the eldest stepson killed his father and mother and swung the butcher's knife on the clan. Itachi is now suffering from a terminal illness and he relies entirely on medicine support. For the current Itachi, every minute he lives in this world, he has to endure more torture, both physically and mentally. Everyone has to do it for themselves. You pay the price for your stupid actions. Being able to die in the hands of your beloved brother may be a relief for him. Kayana hugged Mrs. Mikoto from behind and comforted her. At this point, Mikoto also knew that the matter was irreversible. She turned around and begged Kayana with tears in her eyes. Then, can you let me see Itachi one last time? Just once, please, Kayana. Then, Mrs. Mikoto actually moved back and bowed to Kayana. From Kayana's perspective, he could see Mrs. Mikoto's perfect contours and curves at a glance. His throat rolled. He swallowed hard and hurriedly helped Mrs. Mikoto up. Madam, what are you doing? We are husband and wife, not outsiders. No. Just meet that rebellious and unfilial son. I promise you. Thank you. Mrs. Makin hugged Kayana excitedly. But you have to agree to a condition. Kayana added. Conditions? Mrs. Mikoto was stunned. Kayana grinned and whispered something into Mrs. Mikoto's ear. The latter's cheeks immediately turned red. He lowered his eyes, hesitated for a moment, opened his red lips, mustered up the courage, and lowered his head. Originally, Kayana didn't want to let Uzi see Mikoto because he learned that Mrs. Mikoto was still alive. In a sense for Uzi, that was a kind of redemption. But since Mrs. Mikoto has begged her like this, as a man, he cannot be petty. It just so happened that he was also looking forward to seeing the filial son's expression when he learned that his mother had become his woman. That scene was so interesting. Not only that, he can also get benefits from Mrs. Mikoto. Why not? Half an hour later, Kayana put on his clothes with satisfaction, walked out of the room, said hello to Kwan and Kayana, and used Flying Thunder God to leave Uin village. Returning to Yikang, he then led her to the rendezvous with Deidara. Too slow, brother Kayana, you made it easy for me to wait, huh? Looking at Kayana, who was slowly landing with Xian wings on his back and Yikang in his arms, Deidara squatted under the tree stump and complained. It was also the first time for Obito to see Kayana use the purple cloud wing. He thought it was really a new ninjutsu developed by Kayana. He couldn't help but become more and more afraid of Kayana. At the same time, he gave full play to the funny character of Abi and spoke from the heart. He praised and said, as expected of senior Kayana, he was able to develop such an outstanding flying ninjutsu. This is much better than senior Deidara's explosive clay bird. That thing explodes at every turn, and it is not strong. I was accidentally trampled and then fell from a high altitude. It's so dangerous. A pound sign appeared on Deidara's forehead. Asshole, Ferry, you dare to question my art? Are you looking for death? How could that be possible? Obito scratched the back of his head and said cowardly, I just think that Deidara Senpai's art needs to be improved, otherwise it will always be the same. Asshole, you dare to say that you are not questioning me? Art. Kill you. Deidara's voice trembled with anger. He grabbed a handful of clay and turned it into a spider and threw it in the direction of Obito. For a moment, the huge forest was filled with the sound of explosions. Seeing the two of them playing around, Kainai smiled and sighed in his heart. Maybe this is how Obito has not turned black. Immediately after casting Mirror Flowers and Water Moon, he turned his gaze to the forest on the right. Come out. Yeah. Nothing can be hidden from Master Kainai's perception. A slightly helpless voice sounded, and a man in black robe beside him, the figure with the left half of his face covered by a black robe, walked out of the darkness, and it turned out to be Kabuto. It seems that during the period after Orochimaru's death, you have transplanted Orochimaru's white phosphorus cells. Seeing Kabuto and feeling the completely different chakra from Orochimaru in his body, Kainai did not show any surprise. He said calmly, "Yes, Lord Kainai." Kabuto nodded heavily. So far, besides Orochimaru and his adoptive mother, Kainai is the third person worthy of his respect. As for the reason, it was similar to Naruto's situation. Kainai was the first strong person to recognize him, respect him, and treat him as an equal. Another point is that Kainai avenged him and rectified Denzo. Then he glanced at Obito and Deidara who were fighting, and was surprised to see that they didn't notice him. He also heard Kainai say, "Don't worry, our conversation, and even your whole person, except for Yi Kang, no one can see it." Chapter 270 The Hole in Dao's Heart. Kabuto sighed. "You are as unfathomable as ever. These monster-like members of the Akatsuki organization are like toys in your hands. It seems that you are waiting for me here on purpose." Kainai looked at Kabuto calmly. "I have been looking for you all this time." Kabuto nodded heavily, took out a scroll from his arms, and handed it to Kainai respectfully. "Now that Lord Orochimaru is dead, you are the only person in the world who deserves my respect and can make me feel that I still have a sense of existence. In return, I have done what you entrusted me with last time. It seems that you really put a lot of thought into it." Looking at the probability of practicing the dust release on the scroll, Kainai knew that, if nothing unexpected happened, those powerful ninjas had already begun to be resurrected by the impure world reincarnation. Then he seemed to think of something, put away the scroll, and said with a smile, "Kabuto, you must be very confused now, right? You feel that you have lost everything. For you who have been a spy in different countries since childhood, and have no home, you feel that you have lost your life goals and identity again. So, now you want to surpass your own power. You want to learn from Orochimaru, transfer to Orochimaru's white phosphorus cells, get his power, and surpass him, so as to prove yourself, and find your true identity." "Yes, Lord Kainai." Kabuto did not deny it. "Do you know why?" Kainai began to persuade like a pyramid scheme master. Kabuto's mind emerged with all kinds of past events, and then heard Kainai say, "That's because there is a hole here." Hole. Kabuto was startled. His pupils shrank suddenly, and he saw Kainai pointing to his heart. Suddenly, the figure of the mother pharmacist Nono appeared in Kabuto's mind, and he felt a pain in his heart. He quickly covered his right hand, and asked with a trembling voice, "Then what should I do?" "Of course fill it up. Go meet the person who opened a hole in your heart." Kainai said indifferently, "I can't do it." Kabuto's pupils were dilated, and he avoided Kainai's gaze. He didn't want to use the impure world reincarnation to desecrate his adoptive mother's soul. Moreover, because of Denzo's obstruction, even if he was reincarnated, his adoptive mother would no longer recognize him, which made him even more unacceptable. "I have a good idea." Kainai showed a mysterious smile on his face. Kabuto thought of the Seven Tails Jinchuriki who had resurrected from the dead in Langayan village, and soon understood what Kainai meant, and hurriedly asked, "What do you want?" He knew that Kainai was never a person who was willing to do business at a loss. Kainai threw a kunai at Kabuto. "Keep this first, I will tell you later. Now you just need to prepare for the impure world reincarnation of that person. After all, without a complete corpse, I can't revive a person who has long been dead out of thin air." Kabuto glanced at the flying thunder god standard on the kunai in his hand, and understood in his heart, "I know, then I will take my leave for the time being." As he spoke, Kabuto disappeared into the jungle. At this time, Obito and Deidara, who had finished playing, came over, and the four of them officially set out on the road to find the second pillar. The Uchiha clan's exclusive channel for purchasing weapons is the cat shop. The second pillar, who had just purchased the necessary items for battle, led his snake team to start the journey to officially find Uchiha Itachi and Fujiwara Chiya. JGO, Sujetsu, and Sandao, everything is ready. From now on, we will officially start the pursuit of Uchiha Itachi and Fujiwara Chiya. For efficiency, everyone will disperse to find the Akatsuki base and gather at the hill at 5 o'clock before dark. The second pillar looked at the 3 members of the snake team in front of him. Sandao was the first ninja to join after Kazuki and Jugo. He looked like a sturdy man. Although he did not have much combat power, he was an indispensable role in the snake team. He was hired by the second pillar at a high price. Unlike the original novel, because Karen was kidnapped by Chiya to be Tsunede's apprentice, the snake squad lacked ninjas with perception and medical ninjutsu. After searching for a long time, Nizuzi finally found Dalzo. Is it finally going to start? The beheading sword clanged and stuck in the ground. Shuai leaned on the hilt, looked at Nishikuni with interest, and murmured, "But is it really okay? That Uchiha Itachi is fine. After all, he has an irreconcilable hatred with you, but that Fujiwara Chiya is not a character to be messed with. Although I have never seen him, his name has been well known in the 5 major countries in recent years. The Phantom God, the extermination of the clan Chiya, the barrier of Konoha. Even Orochimaru always changes color when talking about him." Shuai slumped and spread his hands, sighing helplessly. "To be honest, I don't think we are the opponent of that guy, and it seems that there is no substantial hatred between you and him." "No, on the contrary." Nishikuni clenched his fists. Thanks to Chiya, he was living a life worse than death in those 10 days. "Then you should say it." Shuai looked calm. If it weren't for the beheading sword in his hand, he would have run away long ago. Then he turned his eyes to JGO and Sandao. "Hey, you two, why don't you try to persuade him? He's going to find that Fujiwara Chiya. Fujiwara Chiya. Kimamero's will is my will." JGO fiddled with the bird in his hand, and he was fearless. Sandao was the same type of person as Kakuzu, who loved money. Although he was unwilling to face Akatsuki, he had no choice but to let Najera give him too much. "I really can't stand you." At this moment, Sujetsu was in a dilemma. He had already planned that when Najera killed Uchiha Itachi and took the big sword Sumehara from Uchiha Itachi's companion Kisame, he would run away. He didn't want to face the enemy that even Orochimaru couldn't defeat in his prime without any benefits. At the same time, Konoha's Kakashi team, composed of Team 7 and Team 8, also began to pursue Uchiha Itachi and capture him alive. He wanted to use this to lure out Najera. The 8-man team was divided into 6 parts. Kakashi summoned the 8 ninja dogs and divided the troops into 5 groups to pursue. Kakashi brought back. Hinata brought 2 ninja dogs. Shino brought 2 ninja dogs. Inozuka Kiba had his own dog. Naruto, because he was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, needed to stay with Karen and Yamato, who had the ability to suppress the tailed beasts. And because Karen had a strong sense, she was only assigned 1 ninja dog. As for Chinatsu, she was also assigned 2 ninja dogs. But she was not in a hurry to find the 2 pillars and Uchiha Itachi. Compared to looking for the 2 brothers, she came out this time more to find Kanai, who told her mother to be impulsive and scare her father so much that he didn't dare to go home for several months. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271, Confrontation between Father and Stepson. A man and 2 dogs were walking on the street of a small town in the Land of Fire. When Chinatsu and Aozo passed by, one of the ninja dogs suddenly said to Chinatsu, "Hey, little Chinatsu, I seem to smell the scent of Uchiha Sasuke. Although it is very weak, it is very close. Do you sense Uchiha Sasuke's chakra?" "No." Chinatsu shook her head, but her eyes turned to Daozo, who had just passed by. From his mind, Chinatsu read that the other party was hired by Uchiha Nageru, and it seemed that he was going to cause trouble for her father. He really overestimated his own abilities. It just so happens that he can find Kainai through him. Who told Kainai that guy to have the ability to block perception? That's strange. I clearly smelled it. The ninja dog said. The other ninja dog nodded in agreement. Me too. I think it's probably that he met the companions recruited by Nejiru. I sensed it. Among the crowd, only that guy has decent chakra. You can smell it yourself to see if it's him. Chinatsu turned his eyes to Daozo in front of the crowd. Hearing this, the two ninja dogs quickly concentrated their sense of smell, and sure enough, they really found Sasuke's scent on the other person. So the man and two dogs followed. Without any whistles, Chinatsu chased after him, dragged him to an empty alley, and beat him up, and then began to interrogate him violently in front of the two ninja dogs. On the other side, in the forest outside the town, the two pillars had already rushed to the meeting place. At the same time, JGO and Mizutsu also arrived. Strange, hasn't that guy Dozen come yet? Mizutsu looked around, but found that Dozen was nowhere to be seen. He should have gone to the town. He has a special information channel, and it seems that he is going there to inquire about the news. JGO, who was standing aside playing with birds, answered. To get information, I think he went to gamble. That guy is a gambler. The money Sasuke gave him last time, he lost it all in a few bits. Mizuki looked disdainful and turned his eyes to Nibashi. Hey, Sasuke, are you going to ignore that guy? If you keep going like this, it will be easy to leak our information. It doesn't matter. Maybe we can use this to lure out the members of the Akatsuki organization. And compared to this, Nibashi said, a ball of lightning appeared in his left hand, and he threw a dense Chidori Senbon at the jungle behind him. It's so dangerous. It's the same ninjutsu as Kainai Senior. It's really dangerous. A wretched voice suddenly sounded, and a masked man in a red cloud and black robe slowly walked out of the dense forest. Is this dressed like Akatsuki? Mizuki was shocked when he saw this, and quickly pulled out the beheading sword behind him to protect Nibashi. The same thing happened to JGO. He activated the ability of the curse seal, and his left hand turned into a monster's claw. You are Sasuke. Nice to meet you. My name is Afei. Abato, who turned into a fairy, greeted him in a very funny posture. Sujetsu, catch him. Without saying too much nonsense, Nejira directly ordered two members of the snake team to start. Nejira, who had just killed Orochimaru and opened the manger key, was so inflated at this moment that he thought everyone, except Chihaya and Uchiha Itachi, was a small fry. Not to mention Obito's funny appearance. I was waiting for you to say that. Seeing that the other party was not Fujiwara Chiya, Sujetsu instantly lost his care and swung the beheading sword to chop over. Seeing that the beheading sword was about to chop him, Obito was once again possessed by the spirit of drama. While frantically dodging, he did not forget to taunt in a very funny posture. Can't chop, can't chop, can't chop. It's still far away. Sujetsu chopped for a long time, but the beheading sword in his hand didn't touch the other party at all. How come this guy is so flexible? Mizuki cursed in his heart after being unable to defeat him for a long time. It seems that Mizuki can't defeat him for a while. Sasuke, I'll go help him. Seeing this, JGO and Nejima said to each other and rushed over. Obito suddenly felt the pressure increase greatly and hurriedly called for help. Hey, this is not what we agreed. Senior Deidara, Senior Chihaya, Senior Yakira, help me. Chihaya, is that guy here? Nejima was startled and looked up at the sky, only to see Deidara swooping down with two explosive clay giant birds. At the moment, when the giant birds were about to fall to the ground, Deidara jumped down in the air, and at the same time, formed a seal and shouted, ha, boom. The two clay giant birds exploded. Sasuke, Mizuki and JGO, who realized that they had been fooled, shouted loudly, but it was too late to move forward. They had no choice but to protect their chests with their hands and reach the aftermath of the explosion. After the explosion dissipated, it was found that the second pillar was wrapped by a giant white snake, and the main body was standing in the middle of the giant snake unharmed. The first two breathed a sigh of relief. Where is Fujiwara Chiya? The second pillar looked at Deidara standing in front of Obito expressionlessly. With a bang, the smoke dissipated, and the white snake wrapped around the second pillar disappeared. With just you, are you worthy of being the opponent of Brother Chiya? Deidara looked contemptuous. It seems that he is not here, so I'll change the question. The 3 Magatama Sharingan was opened, and the second pillar still asked expressionlessly, where is Uchiha Itachi? This look. The second pillar Sharingan reminded Deidara of the scene when he was defeated by Obito when he first joined the Akatsuki organization. The feeling of being superior made him very unhappy. The second pillar seized the opportunity, and while Deidara was distracted, he drew the Kusanagi sword at his waist and rushed over in an instant, swinging the sword. Deidara acted instantly, but before he could dodge, there was a ding sound, and the Kusanagi sword of the second pillar was caught by Chiya, who suddenly appeared. I'm sorry, I was supposed to be the bait, but I didn't expect that you would find me first. Chiya looked relaxed and turned to look at Deidara. As for Obito behind him, he completely ignored him. TSK. The second pillar knew how powerful Chiya was and was worried that he would catch the Kusanagi sword like last time, so he quickly put away his sword and retreated in front of Jigio and Sujetsu. Really, Chiya Sr., it was so dangerous just now. Itachi Sr.'s instant body technique was so fast. Obito looked like a deer was bumping and patted his chest lightly. Then he pretended to look around, and when he saw that Yikang was nowhere to be seen, he hurriedly asked, "Oh, where is Yikang-senpai? Didn't she come with you? I asked her to buy some food and wine. There will be a very spectacular battle later, and we can't do without food and wine to cheer us up." Kainai made up a reason. In fact, he sensed Chinatsu's chakra and asked Yikang to go find Chinatsu to prevent her from getting close. Then, brother Kainai, just wait and see. See how I will use my art to blow the second pillar away. Hearing Kainai's words, Deidara felt that his art was recognized by Kainai, and he clenched his right fist and said confidently, "Then I'm looking forward to it, but before that, I want to see how much the second pillar has improved after getting the power of Orochimaru. You just watch from the side." Kainai turned his gaze to the second pillar and the other two, and said with his back to Deidara, "I understand, but let's make it clear in advance that this second pillar must be left to me." Deidara still respected Chiya very much. Hearing this, he and Obito quickly retreated to the tree trunk behind them. A battle between father and stepson officially began. Chapter 272, Snake Torture Team. While Kainai and the others were talking in a relaxed manner, the atmosphere on the side of the second pillar was extremely depressing. Fujiwara Chiya, is this guy Fujiwara Chiya? Looking at Kainai, who had just caught the Kusanagi sword of the second pillar with one finger, Sujetsu, who was standing beside the second pillar, widened his eyes, his pupils shrank slightly, and cold sweat ran down his brows. "Ah, it's this guy." The second pillar nodded and stared at Kainai with a serious expression. The power of Manjaki Sharingan plus White Snake plus Curse Seal. Although he is very confident in his strength now, when facing Kainai again, he still dare not be careless. Because as his strength increases, he can feel the depth of this guy in front of him. And so far, according to the information collected from the outside world in the battle with him, it can be learned that this guy in front of him seems to have never really revealed his strength. JGO said in a deep voice, "Sasuke, there are 3 members of Akatsuki, and from what they said, it seems that another member of Akatsuki is coming here. The situation is not good for us. No problem, just solve them together, and the members of Akatsuki are all arrogant, and will not join forces." Najiru's face returned to calm. It seems that you have studied Akatsuki quite well." Kainai slowly walked to Najiru, and stopped at a distance of 4 or 5 meters. "Then let me be your opponent. If you can arouse my interest." That look. Najiru clenched his fists and his shoulders trembled slightly. This time it was his turn to be upset. The guy in front of him seemed to have never taken him seriously. It was just like he didn't take the other members of Akatsuki except Itachi seriously. About this, perhaps even he himself didn't realize it. But this is just right. The more the opponent underestimates himself, the higher his chances of winning. So far, except for the dead Orochimaru, no one knows that he has opened the Manjaki, which can be used to achieve a surprise victory. Thinking of this, Najiru gritted his teeth, suppressed his inner anger, and made tactical arrangements to the 2 companions beside him in an almost commanding tone. Suayu from the left. I've already said that we are just partners, don't always order me around. Suayu snorted and stood to the left of Najera. JGO from the right. Najera ignored Suayu's complaints and continued to issue orders. JGO responded and stood to the right of Najera. They had already discussed this formation. Suayu, who can ignore most physical attacks except lightning escape, will lure the enemy, and then JGO, who has powerful destructive power, will feint and create a flaw, and finally Najera will deliver the fatal blow. Originally, there should have been a third person, as a medical ninja, who would stand behind Sasuke, but now, it seems that the opponent can't catch up. This formation? It looks familiar. Kainai walked slowly towards the three of them with a playful smile on his face. He recalled the scene of the bloodbath of the Eagle team of the two pillars against Killer Bee. TSK, you didn't have any defense and just walked towards me from the front. Were you underestimated? Seeing Kainai walking towards him calmly, Shuayu said calmly, took out a half knife handle from his arms, and put it on the beheading knife. At this point, we can only face the scalp. Who cares if you are a monster? Go to hell. While speaking, Shuayu took a step forward, swooped down towards Kainai, and then swung the knife down with 120% strength. Kainai raised his hand casually, and there was a bang. The ground exploded, and smoke and dust rose. Facing this level of attack, it shouldn't be safe. Chao Wu turned his head to look at Sasuke. No, the two pillars shook their heads. When the smoke and dust cleared, it was seen that Shuayu's beheading sword was actually caught by Kainai, but unlike the Kusanagi sword used by the second pillar, Kainai used two fingers this time. That is to say, Kainai caught Shuayu's beheading sword with only two fingers. It's fingers again. How strong is this guy? I can't shake him at all. Shuayu was shocked, and then heard Kainai say, it's really a weak attack, a boy from the Hazuki clan. Hazuki clan. The second pillar was stunned, and then reacted and shouted urgently, Suayu, come back quickly, this guy already knows your information. I want to come back, but the problem is, that I can't take back the beheading sword at all. Shuayu was holding back her strength, her face was red, and finally she even changed to a tug-of-war posture. But the beheading sword seemed to be integrated with Kainai and even the entire earth, and it couldn't move at all. Asshole, let go of me. Shuayu roared. Young man of the Hazuki clan, please don't shout, or you will only appear weak and incompetent. Kainai's index finger moved slightly. Najeru noticed the chakra gathered between Kainai's fingers and shouted urgently, let go, Shuayu. Unfortunately, it was too late. A trace of electric arc bloomed between Kainai's fingers. The next moment, a strong electric light instantly filled the entire beheading sword and Shuayu, completely covering the man in the sword. In an instant, Shuayu screamed in an extremely shrill manner. Suayu. Chaogo, hurry up. Najeru asked Chaogo to rescue. Needless to say, the moment his voice fell, Chaogo had already completed the curse seal on his right hand and rushed over. In order not to give Kainai a chance to resist, he used all his strength. 7 or 8 flesh tubes grew from the elbows of his cursed arms, and the flesh tubes spewed out violent chakra. The huge monster fist suddenly smashed towards Kainai's head. Boom. Another violent roar sounded, and the earth cracked again. But there was still smoke but no injury. When the smoke and dust cleared, I saw that Chanwu's fist was caught by Kainai's other hand. Not only Shuayu's beheading sword, but also my explosive blow. What kind of monster is this? Looking at Kainai who easily caught his fist, Chanwu's pupils suddenly shrank, and cold sweat flowed between his eyebrows. As a monster, he felt fear for the first time in his life. Not a bad fist, but it's a pity that you have power, but don't know how to use it. Kainai tightened his grip on Chanwu's fist. With a click, Chanwu fell to his knees on the ground with a scream. Kainai kicked Shuayu, who was electrocuted to death, away with one foot. Before Shuayu landed, he grabbed Chanwu's hand and threw him out. The two of them overlapped and finally fell in front of Nizuzi. Nizuzi never looked at the two of them from beginning to end, but stared at Kainai with his eyes. Deidara, who was standing on the treetop, saw this and showed a disdainful smile on his face. He said sarcastically, you really overestimate your own abilities. You actually dare to fight brother Kainai head on, huh? Yes, Senior Deidara. Obito scratched the back of his head in agreement. In fact, He was more and more afraid of Kainai in his heart. This family was more than one level stronger than when he fought against him. Chapter 273 Teaching Uchiha. Damn, it hurts. Chow go, get off me. Sujetsu said in pain. Oh, sorry. Chaogo got up quickly after hearing that, and the two stood beside Sasuke, who then asked about their injuries. Chaogo, Sujetsu, how do you feel? It's okay, but I'm afraid I can't use my right hand for the time being. This guy is very strong. Chaogo stared at Kainai opposite him with his back to Najiro. What do you mean by very strong? It's simply too strong, okay? This guy has neither a curse seal nor looks very strong. Where on earth does he get such a strong power and this annoying lightning escape? Sujetsu was steaming from the electric shock, and his face was full of complaints. This guy is a ninja who is proficient in all escape techniques, whether it is ninjutsu, or physical technique, illusion technique. He is almighty, and in the Konoha period, he was also an Anbu, very good at collecting intelligence. I'm afraid he has already analyzed all your intelligence thoroughly before we came. Najiro said calmly. How can we fight this? Shuayu showed an expression, as if she had eaten shit. A big watermelon. Don't get me wrong, the intelligence I said was thoroughly analyzed refers to you, not me. The corners of the second pillar raised an imperceptible arc, and his hands quickly formed seals and spit out a fireball. At the same time, he summoned two giant shurikens, connected by metal wires, and mixed in the fireball. A double attack of the fireball and the shurikens? Interesting. I'm afraid this is all a feint. Kainai's hand holding the beheading sword swung in the air, and the beheading sword rotated rapidly in the air for several circles, fell into his hand, and then cut it down with one knife. The fireball was instantly split into two, and the two giant shurikens hidden in the flames attacked Kainai from the left and right sides under the control of the second pillar, while the second pillar himself calculated the distance from Kainai, completed the curse seal in advance, and launched a long distance stab at Kainai within the attack range of the Chidori sharp spear. Facing the attacks from the two pillars in three directions at the same time, Kainai looked calm and composed. He did not make any moves. He waved the beheading sword in his hand, cut the metal wire connecting the giant shuriken, and took a step back. The two giant shuriken crossed, and flew 5 centimeters in front of Kainai, and embedded in the ground, and the Chidori sharp spear of the two pillars was also 5 centimeters away. Failed. The two pillars made a TSK sound, stepped back suddenly, put away the Chidori sharp spear, and distanced themselves from Kainai again, ready for battle. Kainai wiped the non-existent cold sweat. It was a close call. Najira, you almost succeeded. If you dared to get a little closer to me, or if your Chidori sharp spear's effective attack range exceeded 5 meters. At this point, Kainai's smile gradually disappeared, and his left hand suddenly raised, pointing at Najira. Najira, do you remember what I told you? Never compete with a master of lightning escape, a master of swordsmanship, or a master of illusion, and the same is true for other escape techniques. Let me teach you again today, let you see what a real Chidori sharp spear is. While speaking, Kainai casually released the Chidori sharp spear. Hearing this, Najira was instantly aroused to be competitive. He has always lived in Kainai's shadow. During the 3 years of training with Orochimaru, no matter what ninjutsu he developed, he would always get this comment from Orochimaru: you are worthy of being Sasuke-kun. You can actually develop the same ninjutsu as Kainai-kun. Among them, the Chidori series of ninjutsu is the most typical representative. Thinking of this, the second pillar opened the curse seal state, released the Chidori sharp spear, and went up. A scene that shocked the second pillar appeared. He saw that the Chidori sharp spear released after the curse seal actually cracked with a click when it touched Kainai's Chidori sharp spear. Kainai's Chidori sharp spear continued to move forward and was about to block the second pillar's chest. At the critical moment, Suayu and Chanwu threw the second pillar to the ground at the same time. Sasuke, be careful. Kainai's Chidori sharp spear passed through the top of the three people's heads, and the momentum did not decrease. Wherever it passed, trees, boulders, and hillsides were all pierced, and the end could not be seen at a glance. The Chidori sharp spear swept across, and the pierced rocks and grass were all split in two. This distance is not good. If Sasuke is hit, it will be bad. Suayu looked back at everything destroyed by the Chidori sharp spear with lingering fear and said to the second pillar. As soon as the three of them stood up, Kainai's voice rang out from the opposite side again. Next, swordplay. Fuck, you're coming again. Suayu couldn't help but swear. Just when he thought Kainai was going to rush over, Kainai swung the beheading sword with one hand, sweeping across the army. A green sword wind cut through the air horizontally, splitting the forest, and struck at the three people of Nihuzi like lightning. Watch out, little devils of the Kizuna clan. This is how the beheading sword is used. Looking at the slashing blow coming at them, Suayu, Chaogo, and even Nizu's faces turned pale in an instant, and they almost lay down subconsciously. Looking up at the dark green sword wind passing over their heads, they felt their hair tingling instantly. Looking at the forest again, all the trees were cut off in an instant. What's more terrifying is that the mountain several kilometers away was cut off directly. At this moment, they instantly had the urge to fuck the dog in their hearts, especially Suayu, who cursed. Damn, this is also called swordplay? Even Senior Juzo, the first generation user of the beheading sword, who was said to have split the tail beast ball with his sword, had never been seen using it like this. Otherwise, the beheading sword would not have broken, and he himself would not have died in the broken blade of the beheading sword. Deidara and Obito were also shocked. Deidara had seen Chiya's slash once before, but that time he used the shadow clone, and was pushed into the sky by a little girl from the Konoha Uzumaki clan using a strange ninjutsu, so he couldn't judge the specific power. Now that it was performed by the original, he was really amazed. You are worthy of being Brother Chiya. The power of this move is so strong that even my ultimate art can be split. Huh. Deidara soared in the sky on the detonated clay giant bird, looking down at the endless ruined forest below, and the mountain that was cut in half in the distance. The moment Chiya swung the slash, he immediately summoned the clay giant bat to fly into the sky. This was a tough situation for Obito, who was not picked up by the enemy. He had no choice but to pretend to fall from a fallen tree and complain to Deidara in the air. One last move. If you can survive, I will stop. Kainai made a symbolic seal with his right hand, fire style, head hard work. A small fireball suddenly spurted out of Kainai's mouth. In an instant, a large flame like seawater swept towards the two pillars and the other two. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire forest. PS. Second update. Please recommend and vote for me chapter 274. Disappointing as Uzi. What a spectacular sea of fire. I'm afraid no one can survive this. HMM. Stepping on the detonating giant clay bird and looking down at the sea of fire, Deidara suddenly thought of his partner Afei. Strange. Where is that guy Afei? He couldn't have been affected and died in the sea of fire. Obito, who had turned into Afei, seemed to be aware of Deidara's call and rushed out of the sea of fire in a rather embarrassed manner, dodging the spreading flames left and right and shouting for help to Deidara in the sky. Senior Deidara, help me, save me. Deidara made a TSK sound and controlled the giant clay bat to chase after it. It's over. This is not even on the same level. Looking at the flames that were overwhelming like the sea, Sujetsu was so scared that he collapsed to the ground. He tilted his head to look at Sasuke and shouted urgently, "Sasuke, hurry up, use the reverse summoning technique." It's too late. JGO on the side shook his head. As his body gradually became cursed, he stood up and blocked in front of Nabashi and Sujetsu. With his back to them, he said, "Next, I will activate the complete cursed state to block the flames. It should be able to delay for a while. You and Sasuke can take the opportunity to escape from here. That monster is not something we can deal with at all." Nabashi looked at JGO, who was blocking in front of him with a broken arm, and then looked at Sujetsu, who was already covered in wounds. He knew that he was too arrogant this time and had provoked a real monster. Recalling the scene of the two sacrificing their lives to save him, Nabashi closed his eyes slightly. A line of blood slid from the corner of his left eye and stood up to hold down JGO, who was about to be cursed, and suddenly opened his left eye. His pupil focused, and the white of his eye was covered with bloodshot. Just as the sea of fire was about to approach, a black flame in the form of a spiral blocked the two people in front of the two pillars. As soon as the sea of fire touched the black flame, it was gradually burned up by the black flame. What is that? Deidara, who had just rescued Obito, noticed the sudden appearance of the black flame, and a solemn look flashed across his eyes. It can actually burn fire. The same was true for Obito, who was grabbed by the shoulders of the detonating clay giant bird. He answered in his heart, "It's Amaterasu." It seems that Sasuke's Sharingan has gained the same ability as Itachi. That's really an unexpected gain. However, Amaterasu alone can't defeat that guy Kanai. I just don't know what the ability of the other is. If the ultimate eye technique of the main Jiki Sharingan is activated, then perhaps there is still the power to fight. The sea of fire receded, revealing the figures of the two pillars, Sujetsu and JGO. Amaterasu. It seems that the two pillars have awakened this ability. As the creator of this sea of fire, Kanai also revealed his figure. The huge forest had turned into a wasteland. Kanai and Najaru saw a huge sinkhole, which was caused by the explosion of the fire style. In front of Najaru was a black flame that had just burned out and had not yet dissipated. What is this black flame? It can actually burn this flame that has been fused with a huge amount of chakra. The survivor Shuai looked at the gradually extinguished black flame in front of him and couldn't help but scream in horror. Najaru replied, "This should be the ability of my left eye's main Gekio." After saying that, his left eye suddenly jumped violently, and a burning pain came over him. Nahashi covered his left eye, and couldn't help but scream, fell to his knees on the ground, and screamed, "Ah! Amaterasu." It seems that Nahashi, an anger-prone person, even if the object of his resentment is different, the anger he generates still gives birth to Amaterasu. Although the Sharingan is the eye that reflects the mind, the eye techniques it produces are often in line with the user's areas of expertise. Nahashi is good at changing the form of chakra, but I don't know if Nahashi's right eye will still be Kagutsuchi. After all, Orochimaru will be the shadow that shrouds him for the rest of his life. Then let me try, Kanai said, dragging the beheading sword in one hand, and slowly walked towards Nahashi and the other two. It seems that this move is quite risky for Sasuke. Seeing Sasuke covering his left eye in pain, Sujetsu stepped forward to help Sasuke up. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the blade rubbing against the ground. He turned his head to look in the direction of Kanai and shouted urgently, "Sasuke, JGO is coming." Hearing this, Sasuke recalled the miserable experience of the 10 days at Orochimaru's base. A cold light flashed in his other intact eye for a moment. He let go of his left eye and his pupils focused again. He stared at Kanai. As for Amaterasu, Kanai had already seen it from the second pillar in the Boruto version, and was no longer surprised. With the perception of the observation haki, he dodged Amaterasu's attack by turning sideways. She actually dodged it. The second pillar was shocked. He endured the severe pain in his eyes, and focused his pupils again, increasing the range of Amaterasu. As a result, Kanai seemed to have the ability to predict, and still easily dodged it. The second pillar gritted his teeth, opened his right eye, and focused both eyes at the same time. The large black flames that Kanai avoided were focused together at the same time, forming a circle of dense fire walls, covering all directions of Kanai, and converging towards Kanai in the center. After doing this, the second pillar could no longer support his eyes, and covered his eyes. His cheeks were already wet with blood due to the side effects of the main Gekio. Seeing this, Kanai's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment, and he shouted, "That's it?" Sure enough, is the second pillar too naive? He originally thought that after the baptism of Orochimaru, the second pillar should be able to slightly awaken the abnormal ability. Now it seems that it is still Kagutsuchi. What kind of ninjutsu is this? In the sky, Deidara, riding on the detonating clay giant bird, was sweating profusely. The second pillar's Amaterasu reminded him of the Kamu that Kakashi twisted his right arm off. Although this black flame was not as terrifying as the Kamu, but Deidara asked himself, if Kanai was him, he would definitely not be able to escape. Seeing Kanai surrounded by Amaterasu, Deidara, one of the few people in Akatsuki who cared about his companions, was so concerned that he forgot that Kanai could fly, and subconsciously shouted to Kanai, "Brother Kanai, do you want me to pick you up?" "No, there is no need for that." Kanai responded, stopped, and symbolically made a seal with his right hand, smiling and saying to Nibashi, "Nibashi, it seems that you have really become much stronger." Your left eye has awakened the same pupil technique as your brother, Amaterasu. Your right eye is Akatsuki, which can control the changes in the form of black flames. Two very good abilities. But there are ways to restrain them. First, earth escape, earth, and land counter. While speaking, the land under the Amaterasu in the area between Kainai and Nabashi suddenly cracked a crack, and all the land containing black flames was pushed underground. Then its wind escape, suppress harm. Kainai spit out a high pressure wind ball from his mouth, and the high pressure wind ball swept, forming a huge vortex shaped storm in the blink of an eye, exploding on the ground, and wherever it passed, the black flames were blown away. Chapter 275, Black Zetsu rescues his mother almost ends early. The storm continued to move forward, and the remaining waves covered the three people of the Nahashi. JGO picked up the Nahashi and fled quickly. Sujetsu followed closely behind him. As he ran, he looked back from time to time. What kind of monster is this? Not only does he know lightning escape and fire escape, but he also knows swordsmanship, and he even knows earth escape and wind escape. What else can't he do? It seemed that there was no escape. At the critical moment, Sujetsu unexpectedly blocked behind Nahashi and JGO, using all the water in his body to rapidly grow larger to block the huge wind pressure for them. The wind pressure dissipated, and after the fire escape, a huge sinkhole appeared on the ground again. Sujetsu was like the tail beast ball in the original work, and his body almost completely lost water and turned into a milky white doll. Although Sujetsu helped JGO and Sasuke resist most of the impact, they were still inevitably blown by the aftermath. Fortunately, before landing, Shigeya, who regarded Nabashi as Kimimero's reincarnation, hugged Nabashi and used his body as a buffer so that Nabashi didn't get hurt. Even so, Nabashi, who used the double eye technique for the first time, was already forced to wipe it. Sujetsu, Shigeya and Sujetsu selfless rescue moved Nabashi. He looked at Sujetsu who was blown into a shapeless state by the wind pressure, and then looked at Shigeya who was also covered with bruises, and asked about their situation. I'm fine, Sasuke, but Shigeya looked at Sujetsu who had lost consciousness with pain, and the two fell silent at the same time. Sasuke, the battle is beyond our ability to deal with. You take Sujetsu and use the reverse summoning technique to leave quickly, and I'll stop that guy for a while. After a little hesitation, Shigeya got up with difficulty and rushed towards Kainai, leaving Nabashi with a handsome back. Then, before he could rush out far, a huge tree suddenly grew under his feet, wrapping his body, leaving only half of his head exposed. The tree blocked everything below his nose. Chaogo tried to break free, but it was no use. No one of you can leave without my permission, my stupid Hashira. Influenced by Amaterasu and the previous fire release technique, the sky became darker and darker, and the sun was covered by dark clouds. The clouds in the sky were gathering and rubbing against each other, and there were dark clouds, lightning and thunder, and there were signs of rain. Hashira breathed heavily and glanced at Chaogo who was controlled by the illusion and Sujetsu who lost consciousness. He looked up at the sky and thought to himself, are you going to use that trick? I originally planned to use it to kill Itachi, but now there is no way. With a determined mind, Hashira did a backflip and retreated to the earth slope not far behind him. Chidori appeared in his hand and raised his hand to draw it to the sky. Just as he was about to use the thunder release Kirin, he found that the lightning in the sky was out of control and gathered directly in the direction of Kainai. Are you going to use this move, Najiru? Kainai stood under the thundercloud, raised his right hand, and a ball of lightning also appeared in his palm. The lightning sometimes turned into a thunderbird, sometimes into a thunder dragon, sometimes into a unicorn, and finally turned into Kainai himself, and fell to the ground. Boom. As soon as the huge lightning giant's heel touched the ground was instantly crushed into pieces. Najiru on the opposite side was like an ant in front of the lightning giant. The impact of landing alone made him unstable and almost fell to the ground. Even Deidara and Obito flying high in the sky were just a slightly larger sparrow in front of it. This level of lightning escape is no longer enough to be described by common sense. It is hard to imagine how terrible the power will be if it falls. What a scary guy. His strength is no longer in the same dimension. Obito, who had already climbed onto the back of the giant clay bird, looked at the lightning giant, so close that his hair stood on end. He said in his heart that this boy was invincible. As for Deidara, he had already been stunned. It was not because of fear, but because of his love for art. He felt that Kainai's ninjutsu was quite artistic. What kind of monster is this? The second pillar looked up at the towering lightning giant and actually knelt down with a plop. After the Uchiha clan was exterminated and Orochimaru insulted him, the second pillar felt despair for the third time. This level of power is no longer something he can make up for with practice and blood limit. It's really boring. You gave up so easily. Seeing this, Kainai suddenly felt bored, and then he sensed the movement of Zetsu with his vision. A plan came to his mind immediately. With a casual throw, the lightning giant immediately flew into the air, passing over the top of the two pillars, almost touching their faces, and fell straight into the uninhabited mountains, which was the direction that Ju just happened to pass by. Then, without even looking at it, he turned around and turned his back to the mountains. The earth began to tremble violently, and a milky white mushroom cloud that was no less powerful than Deidara's self-explosion in the original novel rose up slowly. Boom. A deafening and earth-shattering explosion sounded. Along with endless light and heat, the air was pushed away by the huge force, forming a milky white airwave, which quickly spread to the surroundings with the explosion as the center. Mountains, rivers, and plants were like paper, torn apart by this terrifying force, turning into flying fragments all over the sky, and then completely turned into ashes under the impact of the subsequent power. Even though they were still far away, Chinatsu, Yikang, Hinata, Karin, Kakashi, Naruto, Kiba, Shino, Yamato, the strong wind mixed with dust still made those people who were far away from the explosion subconsciously raise their arms to block their eyes. As for Obito and Deidara who were close, together with the clay giant bird, they were directly blown away by the wind and waves and inevitably fell into the distant jungle. Only Kainai and the frightened Najaru, as well as Chao-Go and the unconscious Sujetsu were left. At this moment, the day was like night, and the sky seemed to darken all of a sudden, with only the white light of the lightning mushroom cloud. The natural power of lightning, plus the chakra of 100 calories of the two properties of lightning and fire. Is it too much? Kainai looked back at the giant mushroom cloud that had not yet dissipated, and threw the beheading sword aside. Then he spread his purple cloud wings and flew towards the town. As soon as Chiya left, the illusion controlling JGO was automatically released. He immediately carried Sasuke and Sujetsu, wishing his parents had more legs, and rushed to the base. Outside the explosion area, a pitcher plant with a slightly scorched exterior slowly rose from the ground. It was Zetsu. White Zetsu said with lingering fear, "What was that just now? Did Deidara self-destruct?" "No, I didn't feel Deidara's chakra in it." Black Zetsu also felt a little scared. Fortunately, the lightning would disappear after falling to the ground, which gave him enough time to perform the mayfly technique to escape. Otherwise, Black Zetsu's story of saving his mother would have ended early. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.